let's go dive in for this week's podcast. Hello, YouTube. Welcome. Today we will talk about the PvP situation of the game. This podcast's main subject will be PvP. You may know this podcast is prepared by mostly me and Hygaa, and we have guests. Some guests you may know, some guests you may not know. Let me just introduce them. Bloodpaw is very long Valkyrie player and as known as like Valkyrie God. On the other hand, we have Hygaa, the manager of this podcast. I'm just hosting it. And Maze as a suck drug main, playing on EU and Mina. Specs, Taz, Awakening Sage Abuser, definitely not Sage main, Kappa. Unlean is a Yalo, and Archive, another Sage. Unlean is playing Corsair, and he hates himself, that's why he's playing Corsair. I'm just kidding. So let's start from Bloodpaw. Who are you, Bloodpaw? Please explain it.
Me, I'm an undergeared shitter who has been doing nothing but PvP since beta on Valkyrie. I didn't really look into any other classes until recently. That got me some hate mails from when I was tagging a shy in RBF. But that's,
We shot.
that's a few weeks. No, but yeah, I mean, I'm playing on EU. I've been, griefing in Solaire, D1 or other lobby, always trying to stay competitive. When it comes to mechanics, I can talk about it. Don't talk to me about gear.
Okay. Hygaa, people know you. People started to know you, especially yesterday's.
Oh no, I paid you with that video, man.
Okay. It's
No,
like yesterday's tier list is belonged to Hygaa, and it was like 70% of the consistent. Please stop bullying him, okay? Please let me know who is Hygaa.
No, like actually I'm surprised on the video comments. I have actually like 80% of people thanking me and saying that it's rather accurate. So I'm more than happy with that. Nah, but hello, my name is Hygaa. I sometimes stream at Twitch at Hygaa_. I have a small YouTube channel that I'm starting to do some montages in. And yeah, I'm trying to organize this sort of project where we gather all the masterful voices of mainly EU, but we are gonna try to gather some other regions in here. So yeah, to give all our, opinions as most accurate as possible from the professional view from all the aspects, PvE, PvP, life skill maybe at some point, we don't know. So yeah.
Okay. Maze, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey everyone. So yeah, I've been like Quendia said, been maining Suck Drag for a while, making some YouTube videos, streaming on Twitch. I mostly play BDO for the PvP or what's left of it. My favorite PvP is like large scale, which is where kind of my class is the best to play in. And but yeah, I do all kinds of PvP in game, and all the PvE I do is towards that. So yeah, and we're talking about PvP today, so I'm excited.
Okay, what about Specs?
Yeah, hello, I'm Specs. I also am quite the PvP enjoyer. It's roundabout kind of the only thing that I do in this game ever since I got enough gear to be viable in it somewhat. So yeah, it's safe to say that's my favorite content, both especially Siege War, since I do Shot Call and Node War, and same with G League and then all other kinds of stuff. And yeah.
Okay, what about Tess?
Yep, hi everyone, I am Tassader. I've been doing PvP basically non-stop for the past, I don't know how many years. Been maining Sage for about 2 years, and yeah, currently mainly doing Guild League in Secure on EU and other PvP content as well, but mainly Guild League at the moment.
Okay, what about Yalo?
Well, hello, I am Yalo. I'm a long-term PvP enjoyer in this game, playing it for, I don't know, since release. And well, yeah, PvP is my, my beloved in this game, even though it's not getting much love, right?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, and well, I play Dosa right now because Drakenia is kind of not it.
Oh no, not the Drakania.
No, I didn't.
Not again.
Fuck
I
Drakania.
played like every class in the game though. Like
Drakania and PvP cannot be in the same sentence.
My bad. Sorry, forbidden.
Archive?
For the people that are listening, if they're a Sage player or if they have watched the first episode of the podcast, they already know me. Or who doesn't know me, I'm an Awakening Sage player. Awakening Sage one trick. I play nothing else pretty much. I post PvE video showcases for the class. I made a pretty huge class guide for Awakening Sage to help people hop. Yep, what some people call the Bible. And yeah, I'm mostly a PvP player, contrary to what some people might believe. But yeah, if you want to stay relevant in Uncapped PvP, not grinding ain't gonna cut it.
Okay. So, okay, like first question will be general, okay? From the scripts, I can say that please let me know what you think about the current state of the PvP from out of 10, okay? 5 for general. Think a little bit. You guys have time. How would you rate it? The current state of PvP. Anything that you can talk, like not a specific cap or something. Overall. Then we will go specifically.
I'll be the one starting, and I think it's on a 3.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Do you want me to develop why I think so?
No. Why? We will talk about that specifically in each content in the game. Blood, what do you think?
Blood
sorry.
Blood is not thinking about
Yeah, that was pretty close to what I guess, honestly. I mean, I gave it a 4. I didn't account for half numbers. 3.5 cents.
Yeah.
I like the 4 there. Personally, for me, it's because of class balance. And that is across any situation of PvP, uncapped, capped, what have you. I mean, with including successions, we have what, like 60 plus classes, and effectively you play like 5 or 8 of them. The rest are just way worse. Like, way worse.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10 too, just because like there is no other MMO with combat like this one. So it's like the best thing we got, but yeah, it's still in a really bad state, and I'm sad.
So you actually pass them?
I wouldn't call 5 pass.
I mean, if it's out of 10, you're
like 5
actually
out of
making
10?
them pass. They
7?
would get the
I
degree
think
of actually
7 would be
there's
the
PvP.
minimum. No, they don't graduate with 5. No. Okay, 4.5 then.
Okay, there you go. That's
6.
better.
Specs?
I think, well, since we're talking about graduating, I wouldn't give it a graduating grade. So I would say 4.5 as well. There's a lot of problems, and honestly, there's a lot of problems that are supposedly easy to fix by just spending a bit of time with, first of all, playing the game, and second of all, listening to the people who play the game. So yeah, if we say 5 is a passing grade, I would say 4.5 as well.
Okay. Taz?
For me, it's kind of hard to say, like, because the overall evaluation part, accounting for everything is kind of difficult. But if you try to mash everything together, I would stay around there as well, probably 5.5, since I do enjoy some of the parts a lot right now.
Okay.
Yalo?
For me, it's under a 5, and it's only close to a 5 because of G League, which is also not permanent, which is another issue. But yeah, it's. I mean, calling this game a PvP game nowadays is also kind of not true, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, to be fair, once the Guild League season disappears,
Yeah,
my rating
this.
drops
I know
drastically.
pretty sure like why you said 5 because you enjoy Guild League, right? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But if you put Guild League out of the window, which is gonna be like in a few weeks, well, this game doesn't have anything else left.
5.5 drops.
Just keep that in mind, right? Like Node Wars are also like 1 hour maybe if you get lucky, and I don't know, like just overall, like it's like below average, like at best, like from the modes itself, right? That you have as an option alone, because open world is not a thing anymore. But yeah, I'm going.
Okay. Art?
I have to agree spot on the 4.5. As they said, open world PvP is dead. The class meta is feeling pretty bad. The build meta is feeling kind of awful. The macro play meta in Node War is, let's not even talk about it. We're just in a state where we're stagnating, playing for wins, just hanging on for dear life to keep PvP alive, and yeah, it's not in a great state. Like, you see alliances, the few alliances that are left are literally hanging on for their life every day, and the ones that break, the guilds that do break off from alliances struggle to stay afloat as well. So it's not looking good right now.
Yeah. So I would give 3 out of 10. If I would do Good League actively, I would maybe give 4 out of 10. But I don't have time to do. I'm gonna do Uncapped Node Wars and some, like, it depends the guild that I'm just doing. Siege, that's all PvP I do. Sometimes RBF and all other things, but they're not like active. Mostly I do uncapped things. So let's talk about the uncapped Node Wars. I'll just ask questions to you, all questions at the same time. You guys also have this document. You can check them there. Like, you can answer the all questions single by single, or you can talk about this general situation of the uncapped Node Wars. The question one is, how active are the uncapped Node Wars currently? Is there enough players' participation to sustain this mod? What is the current meta? Why does the balance remain a persistent issue? Recent changes to Elephant HP and structure durability, were they effective? What improvements or changes would you like to see in this mod? Okay, let's start from Pal if you want. I know you do mostly capped, but if you want, you can start.
Sorry,
No, it's fine.
I don't know. I'm used to having a headset on, dude. The sound of my speakers is kind of throwing me off.
It's fine.
Uncapped Node Wars. I mean, I'm going by what I think Tassader said, like when it comes to like holding on for dear life. And somewhere in this sheet, it also said like maybe PA is making an effort at pushing everyone towards uncapped eventually. I don't know about uncapped node wars. I haven't done them in a while, but I mean, I know that like ever since they introduced occupation node war, the new node war system, like the amount of active node war guilds got like quartered, right? So
Yeah.
that's about all you can glean from me.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I'll follow it. I think whenever, because I'm sort of like Palpaw in this regard, like throughout my video experience, I've been mostly doing capped node wars on a fantasy, and it's just recently that I joined Rat with Specs and Yalo, and at some point on capped, you could see how lowered because of the inclusion of the stick mode of node war was implemented, how the numbers of people playing the node wars were decreasing over there. But whenever I reached uncapped, it felt like there was actually more people that I expected. But nowadays, now that I'm used to, I wouldn't say like you're constantly fighting the same people over and over again. There's not like many variations of that, sadly. Although I would say that if the mode was attractive enough and maybe some people would gather into this mode, it could be more sustainable. Like right now, it's a little bit boring, but the same people are still gonna do it, right? For me, what the current meta of this mode is very easy, and it's you gather a group of 20 monkeys, and I'm gonna say monkeys for gamblers, mystics, all those, strikers. You put them into someone's base, you make them do summon damage, and slowly but surely the structures are gonna start falling down. And it's a very unfun experience. It's not balanced at all. There's not many other options to, give other ways to play around it, because some other utility stuff like structures and Elephant itself is just focusing on defending your base from the destiny that they're gonna have for sure, which is death. Elephant now is even squishier, and because of how the meta is around, the Elephant is not available to use as an offensive tool anymore. And the main upgrades that I would love to see from this mode is basically extending the duration of the node wars, because there's very little, if no, node wars that I've been into that actually gather into the end. And the ones that did were actually kind of epic, not gonna lie, but it's not a fun thing to do. Like every node war should be able to reach to the end and give more as they mentioned on the previous patches or dev notes, I kind of remember the idea of like giving structures like DP thread or something, so that would also help the Elephant getting out of the bases, because it wouldn't be as needed to be inside defending, and also like dealing with these carpets just doing damage here and there and blasting your base without any way to punish them.
Okay.
That's my take.
Yeah,
Maze?
I have to agree. Sorry, but
Did Maze talk?
No. Mace, your
Yeah,
take.
yeah, I could jump in. Yeah, I can only do uncapped node wars in like Mina because I have the gear there, and I think Quendi also does a lot of it. But there's like 3 guilds that actively fight, and it's always the same people, same situation over there as well. So same people fighting the same people, and so it's sort of active, but it was pretty dead a while ago. I don't see why it would stay alive in this state, but we'll see. I don't think it's very sustainable. And the current meta, like we talked about last time, it's you go carpet or you go full blast. And like somebody else just said, you can only do these things well with just a few classes. Like most classes in the game can't do either very well. So that's why balance is still a persistent issue, I think. Simply because people can't show up with the class they like and be as effective as others. And then the recent change to Elephant HP, structure, durability, were they effective? I'm just going to say no. because like Hygaa already explained it in detail. But yeah, like I think the carpet meta has to end first of all for this to become a little more fun again, because cap wars are much more fun. I don't know if you guys will agree, but that's because people die and it actually takes some tactical and strategic planning and coordination. So like until the carpet meta is gone, I really don't see how this can become fun or interesting or anything. Like people show up for their friends, I show up for my friends, but I don't think anybody's showing up to play the game, if you know what I mean.
It's more like a community thing rather than something you enjoy doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Specs?
Yeah, regarding uncapped node wars, it's what we do mostly. It's regarding the activity and like how active they are. It is nothing like what it used to be honest. There's only like, because for example, I also spend most of the time finding the fights that we have every day or every other day, and the landscape changed a lot, like diplomatically. There's a lot of guilds that I don't know, they just don't want to do uncapped really. It's mostly just around seven guilds, and every day you either have a 2v2 with the same participants, and maybe one of them changed, and the other days maybe you have a 1v1. And sometimes because of current things being a little bit, let's say, cringe, with snipes locking out entire nodes, sometimes you gotta dodge to capped, right? And then there's these big guilds, because these 7 guilds are like mostly pretty large, too large for the current member caps, that they have to go with like 70, 80, sometimes even, I don't know, 90 signups, depends on the size of the guild and demand. They have to downsize to nodes that are like only 50 people, and then they go to capped and whatnot. It's not really nice for most of the players, especially the ones on the waiting lists. But when it comes to node wars and uncapped, the main problem is indeed the tank shit, that you just are able to enter into a base and all you do is base trade 24/7. You don't care about a ball. Not yesterday. The day before yesterday, there was a fight I had, and genuinely, I've never seen, like, there was an attempt to have ball fights and so on, and occasionally you would focus on like trading main fights, main versus main and so on, but these people oftentimes they just straight up ignored the main ball that was in front of them and just sent it into the base. And I do that too because I gotta keep up with the meta sometimes. But on that note, where I try to do more main versus main fights, but it's not happening. Like, it's not happening, and they just bulldoze straight into your base, and it's so bad and cringe. Elephant changes are also not helping with that. They actually made it worse because for some godforsaken reason, elephants are more one-shot than they ever are, and they are like almost the only counterplay that you had against these people that just go into your base and rotate super armor 20% DR or more in your base and just take your structures out because they deal the same damage with 100 cheat AP than they do with normal AP. And regarding structure durability, there was nothing felt. The only thing that was maybe felt is the HP in the forts on uncapped, but the HP on forts and capped, for example, I mean that's a different thing and a different topic. But it is quite problematic. It didn't do any impact. If anything, it made it worse. You can one-shot elephants inside of enemy bases easily, even if all you have is tanks. So the improvements that are needed are the ones that they announced, or not announced, but they teased it. Some feature with flame towers that pretty much free Misty Haze, right? Stuff like that. Then there's the changes that they promised with, what was it? Well, generally changes against this tank meta, and changes that they have to address regarding summons on structures. There's so many things that they can do, should do, solving some inconsistencies. We talked about part of them in the last week's podcast. They should really focus on implementing these changes, and it might be better. Because yeah, I mean, as you saw, mazes, and I even agree, and most of the people in my current alliance agree, and they want more capped content, because that's the truth, honestly. Right now, capped is probably the superior modes. It's more fun, and it's more interactive strategically and from a player perspective. So that can't be, because uncapped is still the end goal, and most of the players, the PvP player base goes there, but they get the worst content. It's not really fair. So there's that.
Okay.
Tess?
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything that was said. I haven't really been able to join much uncapped node wars for the past few weeks, But before that, we actually did have like a lot of fun fights, but only if the guilds like mutually agreed to actually have ball fights. If both guilds try to go all out and actually just try to abuse the meta, it's not a fun fight. It's never a fun fight. And yeah, so for the past few weeks, I've not really joined at all, and I've even made like a second account to join more after Node Wars, because that just is more fun right now. I don't know if you want to talk about it later still, but to me, what we said last week is like I think that they need to change the alliances. To me, the amount of alliances
Exactly.
or members in alliances are just too much. You need to just let guilds play on their own, reduce the caps. You would have a bunch more guilds actually fighting. A lot more interesting fights would be able. I just didn't want to say anything because I thought we would just like go for the recording.
Yeah, it's frozen again. Now it's back.
Oh.
Now it's back.
It's
Yeah, I
probably
thought it
related
was
to
me.
Twitch. Everything seems pretty stable on me.
Yeah, because if it was light, then you would notice immediately, right?
So if everything is okay, we can go.
Yeah, you can keep Yalo.
Do you want me to continue? Okay.
Yes.
So again, the carpet meta is a huge issue, right? The perma base throwing, which was told also, and I mean what Tas just said with the alliance system. I think the alliance system is also complete garbage and should be removed from the game. The way it is, we don't have enough players to sustain, by the way, like the amount of PvP you can do, right? And the other thing is, a lot of alliances have like this, like they literally just monopolize, right? The players that are like up and coming, I guess. And again, the caps are also way too big for the game. The game doesn't work if you have 100 people on the screen. Sure, it would be an issue with Siege if you kinda make it so that no one has alliances. But smaller guilds also boost like guild identity, I feel like, which this game doesn't have anymore at all. I mean, who cares which guild you are, right? You're either in this alliance or in this. Like, no one cares about the individual guilds anymore. And if you have more guilds, because you don't have just 3 alliances, means you have more people to fight in theory, right? It's easier to join a smaller guild and to be picked in, right, than be in a 150-man alliance, which is 70 people get to play. I don't know, it just seems very counterproductive, the way the game is. And again, it's also really bad feeling grinding your gear to then just go capped, but capped is generally the better game mode right now than uncapped. If you really want PvP, if you want blob fights, capped is the way, not uncapped. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have to agree with pretty much everything that was said. Uncapped, there's not enough different guild and alliances, and yeah, disband, like removing alliances from the game would definitely help with that. But it's also that people don't want to go uncapped because the carpet meta is just not fun. People just int bases because nobody wants to take a carpet versus carpet blob fight on the road, and just like that at the end of the day, it just feels like a waste of time. It doesn't feel like good PvP. There's no skill expression. You just have Chais walking in, popping Bongo, popping Misty, and that decides everything at the end of the day. Because otherwise, it's just carpets hitting carpets. It's like I think objective play is a good type of PvP in general, but when you have carpets hitting the objective and you have no counterplay to stop those targets in a sizable amount of time, then yeah, it's like it's out of hand.
Okay, so you guys talked about the meta things, but main things are just like carpet meta is making uncapped is mostly unplayable and not fun. The other thing is just like it's very hard to find people to fight in one purpose, 100 people every day and every day, or 75 every day and every day, and it just boosts the situation of the alliance system in the game. Like people, I know that there are lots of veterans still in the game. They used to be the good leaders in server MENA or maybe in server Europe, in other servers too. They don't want to just manage 100-man guilds. So they want to stay in like 30, 40 people and with their friends that they can, you know, have fun with their time. Better than 100 random people. They want to stay like in 30, 40 man guilds or 50, I don't know. And they're just creating a line system with the other guilds and they can find 100 people. So it's being easy for the guild managers, the leaders, or the remain part of the guild managers. And also it just takes the burden from the, what's the name? If let's say that there are like 4 different guilds in one alliances, the leader guild needs to do all the structure things, the main, you know, managing things. So it's just taking the burden from the other guild leaders. So overall, the people that I know, they don't want to manage 100 people. That's the first thing. The other thing is the carpet meta. I'm trying to explain this situation. So what I'm trying to say that we should find some kind of solutions instead of like talking about, hey, problem, like a baby rage, like a, you know, let's just ask or request solutions from them. Like alliance system is bad because nobody wants to manage 100 or more people. That's the one. So what can be the solution? Let's make the uncapped contents in the game, except Siege, maximum 50. Like 40 would be acceptable, for example. Uncapped nodes 40, 50. That can be good. Also, in uncapped or capped and overall in all nodes and Siege, the income overall, it's imbalanced. Even if you win, meh. If you lose, it's just too bad. So to encourage people, I'm not talking about the node war buff, the 20 or 25 AP buff. The normal income should be encouraging, should be encouraging, even if they lose. I'm not talking about abuse the system. Of course, there should be some kind of prerequisite for that system. So it will push people to go for uncapped. On the other hand, the carpet meta. We talked about income is not okay, not encouraging. We talked about the remove the alliance system, but also decrease the participant numbers. But this also makes the alliance, maybe we can just keep the alliances only for Siege, not for Node War. That would also be good. And the thing is carpet meta, we talked about last week. That carpet meta is biggest issue, biggest, chronic issue right now in the PvP, especially in the uncapped. How would you fix it? Like, would you like to see Node Wars only guilds, not alliances? Siege is only alliance. And how would you solve the carpet meta? We can just give them solutions. Okay, let's go.
Okay. We can go the other way around so that we go from archive now to Palpaw.
Yeah.
So all right. Okay. You can go archive.
Well, I've given it some thought for the past weeks and months on how to solve things, and as I mentioned as far as the carpet meta goes, as I mentioned in the first episode of the podcast, I wouldn't really know how to fix it because it's a problem coming from multiple things, coming from the SADR on some classes, stats available on some crystals, and the fact that some classes can just get way too much value with outside of damage. Those classes don't need damage to get insane value, and all those things together, they create the carpet meta, and I wouldn't be sure what way there would be to fix it without compromising the identity of some classes or compromising the efficiency of less tanky but still viable builds. This is a subject that PA would need to go through and study and get feedback from on Global Lab and live servers for an extended period of time, but they would need to start as soon as possible and stay on topic for a while, because this will require a lot of work on their side. As for alliances and the sieges and others, I agree. It would be a nice idea to have them only apply to others and only apply to sieges and not to others. It would be a nice change. Although even in sieges, we have situations like Medaya Siege sometimes completely lagging the server, or until a few months ago, even crashing the server, and that's not. I don't think that's a part of a good recipe for PvP, especially for how long Siege can take. Sometimes people don't want to be doing PvP on S and 300 ping for hours on end. But then game engine and server optimizations can also help with the issue, but that would be an entirely separate issue that I don't know if it's ever going to get into it in a considerable way. As for changing the rewards for Node War and making them encouraging and avoiding people who crashed.
Specs, I believe.
Specs.
Oh,
it's fine.
Okay. As for making rewards encouraging and prevent people from abusing this, I 100% believe they should remove the Node War buff completely, because that's mostly a PvE and life skill related buff. So you will have people that are exclusively interested in PvE and life skills going into Node Wars just for the buff. And this also leads to another issue that we can talk about if you guys want, that we're having right now in EU. But yeah, they should just completely remove that buff, make it available in other ways, for life skilling, they can make it available through, I don't know, hunting, like the whale hunting, or the rhino boss, life skill related things. And then for PvE, they can make it available through boss splits, either solo or party. There are ways to implement it that don't involve people just going into PvP to leech it.
What about world bosses?
Oh, that's also, I believe that would also be interesting. That especially since world bosses have been kind of, well, most of them have
would
been
populate them, honestly. If they give, let's say, 8 hours of buff, not like the full day, like 4 hours of buff if you do this boss. So you would actually need to do the boss, get the buff, then you have 4 hours. You want to recharge it? Sure, go for a Nuver or Kudum that is not populated at all.
Another method that I thought about was like having the PvE buff obtainable from party bosses, and
Mhm.
if your guild gets first to third spot in
Mhm.
normal bosses, you get 15 AP. Under third spot, you get 10 AP. And then
Oh.
hard bosses, first to third, you get 25, and under third, you get 20.
That's a good idea.
But it would need to be to apply only to monsters, because if you do that for all AP, that would be a little bit too
No,
much.
all
Yeah,
AP
but-
would be crazy. Yeah,
Another
with
buff
this
is only AP to monsters, right? It's not
Yeah.
all AP.
Okay, I don't know.
I believe it would be a good change. Like it also refreshes on Sunday. You can have it last a week, and yeah, I believe it would incentivize people to also get into boss blitz if they haven't already.
Okay.
But yeah, also from ward bosses, they would populate them. There are multiple ways they could implement it, and then if they do remove the nodal buff, they obviously do need to even overcompensate in just other ways. Like maybe don't increase the raw silver, the gold bars from Node War, but maybe allow us to drop a sizable amount of items that we do use for Node Wars, like consumables. Because right now we get at most maybe 1 immortal courage if you get lucky with the boxes.
Mhm. Yeah. Do you want to add something to it, Yalo?
Yeah, basically, I mean, he summed it up, right? To the carpet thing is, he basically spoke about Archive. Not every carpet is equal, by the way. Like, some carpets are just way, way better because of the damage reduction that they have, the kit that they have. Not every carpet is equally as broken. That's just one thing, right? You would have to also look at classes individually and what they do to like fix it in a way. Because some classes are just completely overtuned when you give them defensive stats. The other thing is, I mean, people are talking about limiting the defensive crystals that they can have, or like the diminishing returns, which could work, but then you would have to probably rework the existing items, because in the game there are items that give you values too, right? Like defensive stats, so it would need like an overall of like the complete system. The other thing, I mean, I'm a big Node War cap hater when it's like above 50, because the game doesn't function. It doesn't matter what rig you run, it will just feel like shit playing it if there are too many people on the screen. Like, the game is just not designed for that. And I don't like, sure, in Siege you can get away, right? The large scale PvP feeling and shit, but on a regular basis, man, every time they're like 70 cap and I go there, I feel like I'm pushing a burger through an artery. Like, it feels completely horrible to play. And I don't know who enjoys it. Like, I don't enjoy shooting my skill into 5 people and then just hoping someone dies. That's not PvP to me. That's end battle, like end hill against end hill. It's not fun. It's all leggy. And if alliances were gone, you would have more people to fight. Literally, more people would split up to go into their guilds. You would have not what we have right now with like 3 to 6 alliances max. You would have multiple guilds. There's just multiple. And again, the node war buff is also such a toxic mechanic in a way, because what Archive said, it just makes all the PvEers just go there and just grief the node wars. Real talk. And they don't put effort into it. They just play to get the buff. And again, some of our alliances are even like guilty of it, just doing the node war to get the buff, right? To grind circles faster. So it's like an overall issue that definitely needs work, like urgently. Well, yeah, that's it. I just want to add that.
Okay. Tass?
Yeah, I'll keep it short. I agree with everything that was said. The main things I just want to see is DR method change, either by implementing like a DR shred or changing how DR works entirely. Then removing the alliance cap, removing alliances and reducing the node war caps. And the node war buff is also just a stupid idea. So yeah, I just agree with everything. Nothing new to add.
Specs?
Well, I've got a bunch of stuff to add, but I agree to everything that was said regarding specific solutions and whatnot. Because, I mean, I'm sure here's all of these things eventually, right? About they need to fix this, that, and the other thing. And it's very true. And I'm not sure if they know how to, but to give them maybe somewhere to start. Well, I keep mentioning it, but I'm going to mention it again, and hopefully for the last time. They had a great idea with the Flame Tower Misty thingy, where they reduced the R by a percentage and evasion rate by a percentage. That was an amazing idea. Great job with that. Then there's content in the game that they're not exactly using anymore, though, right? So there's like these utility items, for example, traps, stun traps, poison traps, slow traps. Nobody cares about these traps anymore. Only elephant traps. That's all people buy. Nobody cares about them. And then there's also cannonballs, right? Like flame cannonballs. They changed them and never touched them again. And they're so dog shit. They can do some interaction with that, because it used to leave like a flame ground behind, right? And you had to interact with that. Like as a defense member, you had to put the fire out so you can actually place some rebuilds and stuff. You know, it made sense. There was some interaction and there was thought behind it. And they just need to maybe revive these aspects of the game, because there's existing content. It's just completely forgotten, and the focus has been shifted because of the meta. So yeah, in particular, something to do with the traps. Eventually maybe add debuffs that are worth something, not just traps that make you completely ignore them and not give a shit about them because you just SA through it, since you're never gonna get stunned by a stun trap unless you don't know how to rotate an SA while moving or something. Nobody cares about those. Ankle traps, the movement decrease is nice, but it's not enough. And elephant traps, as I said, is the only thing. So they need to fix something about particular traps. Maybe debuffing stats, right? Offensive stats or defensive stats, debuffing them in that way, since it doesn't matter if you if you SA through them, because you can still get debuffed. Doesn't mean that you need to get CC'd. It's just some stuff to think about. And yeah, the flame balls or just cannonballs in general. I also think it is quite toxic that cannons are quite undervalued. They are only used, in my mind at least, mostly to take down flame towers and watchers and so on faster, right? And cannoning is also quite easy these days, I won't argue, because you just need to hit the stick and then it AoEs everything in the base, kind of. So there needs to be some sort of, some sort of skill expression. And there is already skill expression in cannonballs and cannon shooting and so on. It just needs to be rewarded a bit more. Okay. So if you maybe standardize damage dealt to structures like flame towers and watcher and so on, to be the same damage from cannonballs to, for example, Rico centers and so on, right? Because right now Rico centers are only really burstable, killable by players, I feel like. Cannons don't do anything to them. Meanwhile, in return, ballistas and sieges, they one-shot fucking, or like not one-shot, but they 3-shot, 4-shot Rico centers and stuff, but they don't do anything to Flamethrower and Watcher, right? It's inconsistent and it's weird, and that you need some sort of exclusivity, right? You need something, you need more clear roles that are mandatory in a node war, because you have it all in the game. So yeah, maybe think about making player damage to structures, maybe cap that out to a point where it makes sense. Like they did, for example, because they know they are capable of that. They capped it out on damage to elephants the other week, right? So maybe do that to structures. That being said, summons shouldn't have no business dealing flat damage to structures in the first place, right? Summons from Striker, Awakening Sage, Corsair. And I when I play Awakening Corsair and I don't leave a node war without 6 structure skills out of nowhere, like literally nowhere, then I'm surprised. Because Awakening Corsair pats are so completely broken, they honestly just flatten structures. And it doesn't matter if you're on 1 million DR or evasion and so on, it does a lot of damage. And if you look at Awakening Corsairs, particularly in war scores, they will always have a lot of structure kills, because it's just honestly very good. And it's also completely independent of gear. So they need to do something about that. I also agree in particular to the node war buffs. They need to relocate that or something. Like, especially like the life skill part of it, because you get so much XP. Like in comparison, the life XP buffs that you get in general are not many, right? And then you get such a huge buff from a node war buff, right? A PvP form, and then you get also a good amount of mastery from a node war, a PvP form buff. I don't think it has much business being there, and it also incentivizes snipes, right? Any PvE guild can just band together, take all the other PvE guilds, life skill guilds, and be like, you know what? I'm going to lock this node today because I want my buffs, and I'm going to come back in 2 days because I want my buff again. And they're capable of doing that. They are capable of doing that. We're lucky that Clarity and Life and so on don't do it. Yeah, they are doing it. But these guys are not even life skillers. These guys are just griefers manipulated by somebody. Right? So there's that. Okay. So that's a big problem.
Mind controlled.
Yeah, I mean, bro, that's a rabbit hole. That's a complete rabbit hole.
I know, but it's like the crazy shit I'm reading now on Discord sometimes of these people is crazy.
Completely insane. I mean, bro, it's a problem to the point where I get messaged by by CM because I mean, man, all I do is own the Diplo Discord, right? For example, and I get this DM to yo fix this situation because well, there's snipes and whatnot, but. That's a whole rabbit hole. It is what it is. There's nothing that we can do. The people in this game are free to do whatever they want, and they can do it in a way that they want, that it impacts others negatively. And sure, there's mechanics that they can be punished with like lockouts and so on, but that's also quite limited here and there. So I don't know, something to do against that. But yeah, I didn't want to go into the segue about all that stuff. Regarding the rewards, I feel like, yes, we need to be refunded of our consumables in some shape or form. Maybe make immortal elixirs and so on a thing that are like worth, or just when you already introduce the presets, maybe introduce some sort like some set of buffs that you just passively have on you when you're doing certain content. Something like that, or make them in a way that it's not impacting your own, silver in your own bag, in your own central market. Because what else is guild funds and so many billions of guild funds used for if all they do is just, get taxed into nothing? They just get taxed into nothing, and payouts where you also get like a low amount.
No money.
Yeah, it's like no money. And yeah, I agree with the removing alliances, especially the member caps, because you need to do that as a result. And you need to standardize the nodeware area sizes to make sense with the member caps as well, though. Because if you look into the game, for example, and you see nodes like Ancient Stone Chamber, and it's an uncapped node, which is maybe 3/4 fit here or 4, and there's 45 people who go here, that's like fine. But then there's some other examples where oftentimes mountains block a vast majority of the area, and then you need to go there with 60 people to fight on a cramped node. It's not exactly the most viable thing. So some standardization regarding that, moving the borders. They've done it before, they can do it again. So yeah, that was a lot of thought on my part, but that's pretty much what I've got to say so far regarding changes that they could implement in particular.
Maces?
I don't really have too much to add to this. Like everybody said really sensible things. I'm just going to reiterate, like carpet meta needs to be fixed for not just Uncapped, but pretty much all the relevant high-end PvP in the game is affected by it. So like they got to do something about those crystals, DR, and it shouldn't be so easily accessible at such a huge extent. And then, like Yalo said, some classes can truly abuse that to an extent that they're unkillable, but they are also extreme. They have too much utility at the same time, and they're still very effective on the battlefield. So that should never have become a thing.
You can go, Palpaw, if you want to add something. I'll leave Quendia and me for the end.
I mean, yeah. Well, I also I wanted to bring this back to the original question of how to fix carpet meta and not just rage about it. And I mean, I've picked up some interesting points here that others mentioned. For example, like Yalo mentioned that we have a difference between the performance of carpets, and from what I just can gather, probably the main problem is Striker, because of what Specs also said, which I didn't know that, because I don't play Uncapped, that Striker summons deal a flat amount of damage to structures, for example. So why is this a thing, right? That's the first thing that has to go. There we go. I mean, like in Striker is also this one class that has very high combo damage or damage in general, while being naturally tanky because of the SA damage reduction. And they have so many modifiers, different damage between different classes, the PvP reduction on the skills, and the newly SA damage reduction that they implemented. Like, how can't they find a middle ground between carpet and one-shotting? I think the stream froze, or it froze for me. No. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if you ask me, I know that last time I played there was Succession Course. Awakening Mystic is probably a good carpet because of the tankiness, because of the bubble and the vacuum. But I think the main problem here is probably Striker, because they have inherently high damage, and they also scale well with tankiness, and they also have insane sustain, right? They have a billion skills that just says regenerate 1k HP on use. They don't even need a shy to heal them. So.
Okay.
Yeah, they basically
That's what I got to say.
Full super armor rotation combo too, just for fun. Love.
Okay, I wanna add something to that because you said something about the middle ground between tankiness and damage. It is a bit like because we used to have that middle ground, right? And then they introduced Sovereign, Karazad, and everything, and they started being disproportionate. But the only way where you find this middle ground these days is in capped. And back then, even in cap, though, it was better. If we remember and think back the old tier 3 caps, now that was an amazing cap. That was a decent amount of tankiness, a decent amount of damage. It's not too much tankiness like it was in tier 4 or in tier 2. Stuff like this is these middle grounds, they're capable of it. It's good. Yeah, that's capped content, but it's definitely possible. They just need to tweak the right things.
Yeah. I will add one last thing to that. And this is also like I had a lot of insane gear lords in my guild for the longest time, and the reason they like to play capped is because lesser numbers. We've said it a bunch of times now. I don't know if that has necessarily to do with carpet meta, but for capped content specifically, if there would be 70 people playing, you would absolutely explode. I can tell you there's a lot of damage in the current tier 2. I think the old tier 3 nodes had good, they probably had good damage to tankiness, but I think they were 50-man caps and stuff, so the damage felt higher than the other caps, but in essence it was more balanced outside of block fights.
One thing to add, that's a good point. Like on lower player caps, more classes work. I mean, the larger the cap gets, for example, range classes get so much value out of it. Like range classes just fucking shoot in a blob and kill more people. A melee class is gonna have a really bad time. The more people are in a fucking like at the place, right? It just makes sense. You cannot avoid that much more damage in a larger cap. So like the class imbalance unironically gets way worse the more people are there. It's like more showing. I mean, you see it, right? You're like Awakened Dorsals, you're like ranges and stuff. Like any range class just gets so much value the larger the cap is. And this is what I noticed too. Like on capped, I'm gonna be honest, you can really make most classes work. Also, like on a lower cap, you can really make most. I mean, if like, okay, sure, some classes are gonna be always better. It's like metagame, it's in every MMO, but it's not as bad as Uncapped on a really large scale, right? Like on a really large scale, I cannot think of many classes that are actually viable compared to on a lower cap.
Yeah,
Yep, that's also true. You don't see other classes as you would see. Like Uncapped is literally monopolized by, let's say, 10 to 12 classes, and you don't see anything else. And if you do something else, you feel like you're in. I agree to that point.
And again, playing a melee class in a really large player cap, and it's just miserable. I don't think that's fun. And again, one question I had though, would you guys mind like the carpet meta, right? Let's say they nerf Zerker, Awakening Mystic, and Striker, okay? Would you mind the carpet meta as much as you do right now, like personally, or would you still say a carpet meta has to be completely?
So the question is if it's the carpet added to the specific classes that benefit that much, if we matter that much?
Exactly, because in my opinion, these three are the biggest abusers.
Here's the thing, and I was gonna go with my point, and I can just link it with this question. I don't know if you guys agree. Like overall, like in every game that we can think of, there should be like this option for someone if they decide to go tanky to feel tanky. I'm not against that. The problem comes when it becomes too oppressive, in a sense that a class is able to be in the middle of 10, 20 people on the floor and still waking up, right? Like going up. It just becomes a little bit too much. Those classes feel a little bit too oppressive because of the utility that they bring. And maybe we are tired of seeing them because they're just the current meta, right? What I feel like for this carpet meta, there should be more unified tools so that all the classes that are supposed to be frontliners, and I'm gonna add Balk here. Palpaw is a player here. Maybe he has some inputs on other Balks with more gear that do more PvP uncapped content. Balks are not as popular these days. Why so? Why do they feel less tanky than all these classes? We should investigate on that regard. Succession Dracanias, Corsairs now. Also, they were very popular before. Maybe we don't see them as much. And they are like fantastic class for the utility and the heal that they bring. And I don't feel like they are as seen nowadays.
Yep.
I think there should be more unified buffs and damage reductions, and they should investigate on how to make all these classes feel tanky in that regard. I would add more on how to deal with the tank meta, but I will leave the rest of the people to answer your question if you want, Yalo.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I have something regarding that. There was something interesting you said, which I totally agree with, Hygaa. It was that you are completely fine with allowing tanks to be tanks, right? That they're in the game, and that it becomes a problem when they become too oppressive. I totally agree. I also believe in this like little role thingy, right? That there's damage, that there's some sort of support buffing, and that
Holy
there's
Trinity.
some sort of tank.
Crazy.
I believe in this holy trinity, and it works
God.
pretty neatly, right? So for example, but in BDO, there's something missing, right? Because nobody dared to do it yet. But what is stopping people from just going full on tank, except for maybe a few people that deal a good amount of damage on some broken class? Full tank blob, 50 people tank, 10 people full damage, something like that. What's stopping people from doing that and then going into Node War? I'm curious what happens. And I wonder if they would win. I feel like with the current state of BDO, in Uncapped, there is a chance that they could actually win. I don't know. It is honestly, and that's a problem, right? Because if I go and play League of Legends, there's also like something like a tank meta. And how did they fix that? They introduced stats that deal extra damage to the tanky people, right? There's some sort of armor penetration. There's max HP damage on specific classes and whatnot. There's counters to that stuff. But right now we have nothing.
Specs, one thing to the tank, yeah. It's just more accessible, right? You literally just need like the shitty ass crystals that you get. You slot them in and you Exodia basically. Compared with the offensive options, you actually have to grind and actually properly play the game.
You need so much. Bro.
Yeah, like the difference in getting defensive stats nowadays compared to like offensive is just crazy. I mean, sure, back then you had like the Centaur Sissel combo that made you immortal, and you need like 6 accuracy basically, which was also crazy in itself. But I mean, again, all you need is just put a pre-order on the arc crystals, and you're good to go, most likely. And you outperform someone who grinds more. Yeah.
You said Centaur Sissel, but that's evasion stuff, right? Evasion and a little bit.
Yeah, no. I was just comparing it to. Yeah, of course.
Then there's people. They go instead to counter that stuff. They go Triple Dawn, right? In MENA, I heard there was a time where all they had was evasion players, and then I had people come into my old guilds, right? And they came from MENA server, and they say they talk to me about their build. And they sent me their planned build, and it's 5 accuracy, 1 debo, something like that. There was like, oh, it's not good.
Oh god,
it's not good.
I used to play like
what's the meta in this server? I don't know. Bro.
Is it true, Quindia?
Yeah, like I had like, I don't know, my old viewers remember that I had 6 accuracy accessories to counter only 1 Centaur and Sissel. 1 Centaur and Sissel was like 60-70 billion or something. I don't know why EU and NA like couldn't find that thing. Like, it was broken. People were just abusing Musa, Sorg, Mystic, Striker, all classes that's, evasion. Also, Awaken Ash, for example, that evasion scales good. To counter, they're like cheap builds. You have to just spend trillions of silver for only accessories. I'm not even talking about armor and the weapons. So thanks God that they changed the, how evasion works. It's working like kind of different way of the damage reduction. Yeah. I don't know why the remaining part of the world couldn't find that simple and cheap meta. It's exactly the same scenario, but now it's happening on the damage reduction, not evasion. So what?
That's from my problem, right? Because sorry, go ahead.
Go.
Okay, so in my perspective, right? Because that was evasion, right? And my main point last time in the podcast was as well. Okay, you have accuracy rates. You can pre-buff yourself, be smart man, or woman. Or whatever, right? Pre-buff yourself, accuracy rates. Get more accuracy, 6 times accuracy gear, right? You can adjust that. You can get everything you want to counterplay that in some shape or form, somehow. But now, you can't. Now, against DR, there's no percentage decrease, there's no max HP damage, there's nothing. And that's a big problem.
I mean, also the fact that it can go hybrid and have so much DR while having evasion on some classes also crazy. Like, even if you go full accuracy, you still have DR to like go through, right? Like on some classes, you just cannot kill them. And I mean, I didn't even get to like sturdy whale pods and shit yet. Like, that shit just, I don't know how many of you are using it. That shit is way too broken. Like,
it's OP. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
it's
like it just makes you immortal sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can go, Quenya, if you want. You can
Yeah.
find out.
So we are talking about the carpet builds, or the carpet meta is just the main issue of the current Uncapped mostly. The one reason is that they are easily finding resource, the stats, and cheap. Let's make them expensive. So if someone wants to be tanky, it should be expensive like the offensive build. That can create some kind of, a limitation for, class abusers. Berserker main can have that build. It's because it's his main. But there are lots of Berserker abusers. It's not their main. They just tagged it because they're just like, they don't even like level 62 or something. Like level 60, 61 Berserkers and Strikers jumping around like monkey and like gorilla, and they're doing it only for like with one crystal, which is, how much is that? 600 million or something. Like they're not even bothering themselves to just being rewarded by their effort. Nothing. So what we can do is just like, they can add more way to get DR, but it can be expensive. Not like, even if you just use Jin crystals, let's say that we can add more things, but the Jin crystals will not give you 29 or 30 DR for free. Like it's not 30, it's like 29 DR, and it's also giving you shit DP. That shit DP is giving you cap, and cap's also giving you DR. It's just getting scaling like in a linear order. It's not 29 DR actually. It's like maybe 32, 33 DR if you do the actual math. When you just, it's so cheap to get lots of DR in it. The other main problem is the class modifiers, like the specific modifiers that they have. Super armor damage reduction. Please remove the super armor damage reduction, or not remove, but decrease the super armor damage reduction from gauntlets. The melee class, it has to be maximum 15 if it is frontliner. If it is not, assassins, they should be 10, because assassins is in theory, they have to be, weak, fast, going in and out. But if a class is tanky, like Valkyrie, Nova, Striker, Berserker, it has to be maximum 15. Or maybe only we can add to the Valkyrie and Nova, because they are shield classes. They are carrying Giga shields. Maybe they can have additional like 20%, but the remaining part of the gauntlets and the Berserker especially, we are talking about Striker, Berserker, and the Mystic, isn't it? 3 classes, biggest problem. Let's make their damage reductions 15. Also, let's check their base stats that they can gain without problem. Free evasions, for example, free evasion passives, like free DR stacks, free HP pools, like Berserker literally has additional 3-4k more HP than the other classes. Okay, then make the base DR is lower, make the self DR buffs lower, so keep it in the balance. That's the another thing. So 2 main things: make the stats hard to reach, and also make these carpet classes base stats, make them lower, so we can just sit on some kind of balance. If the guy still wants to go for tanky, he will be tanky, but it will not be easy. Like you're spending trillions of silver to reach 1000 AP, deck Sovereign, deck Karazats. Maybe there will be more items in future, but that guy still being unbeatable in his stupid build. That's my take.
Okay. If you guys feel like, I'm gonna, instead of like giving my opinion, which is pretty much in line with what everyone has said already, what I'm gonna do so that we can move on to some other topic, or maybe develop something that we haven't talked about, I'm gonna do like the summary of what we've talked so far for Uncapped, because I have been taking notes just to gather what everyone said here. So in order to deal with this carpet meta, we have given suggestions such as giving the DP shred for flamers. So that would alleviate the issue of them like just being completely unbeatable inside the bases. We have talked about unifying the class modifiers so that the stats are more equal to the for all the frontline classes. Reduce maybe the percentage of the damage reduction to maybe a 15, evaluating maybe a 20, or maybe increasing, or just leaving on 15, but maybe giving extra on the shield part for the shield classes. So overall, like making more consistent throughout all the classes, so that way we can also see more consistency in what classes are benefiting of this meta. Also, making the smaller version of the crystals being more expensive, or maybe this is something I add, actually nerfing the stats that they give because they feel very rewarding rather than that. Like, it's very rewarding the cost for the efficiency. So maybe nerfing that relation in that regard. And yeah, overall that would be for the tank meta issue that we're having. For also some aspects that we mentioned for Node Wars, it would be very beneficial to remove the alliance system, because this would also boost the variety of fights that people are going to be having in this mode. And also by lowering down the caps of people that can participate in Uncapped, it would also help for the server stability, because for obvious reason, it would be less demanding for the servers. And in order, also something that we mentioned about the Uncapped is how good and efficient is the reward for the participation. So rather than having people feeling like compulsory needing to get this buff in order to do it, like actually getting into it and doing this kind of snipe problem, kind of evaluate how to give this sort of buff into maybe doing Land of the Morning Light bosses, doing world bosses, investigating, so that there's no need for people to actually do Node Wars if they don't want to, because the buffs that are given are way too good for all the aspects of the game. So yeah. And yeah, we also mentioned the rewards, that it should be more encouraging, or actually like allow the players that participate in PvP not lose money throughout these systems, and maybe get back or get the oil of immortality to make the immortal versions of the buffs that we apply, so that it's a little bit less silver demanding for the players that participate. I believe that's all that we've said for Uncapped. Am I missing something?
Well, regarding some small tweaks and so on regarding Node War, but
oh yeah, like
that's taking a while.
also in evaluating the possibility of this sort of mechanics of like traps and cannonballs and all those that are kind of forgotten and have no use, like explore the possibility to give them some sort of new utility and purpose, because it's kind of lost, right? Is that what you
something
meant,
like that.
Specs?
Yeah, something like that. Just need to make use of their game mechanics, right? You know, siege defense towers. You know what they're used for? Nobody knows, bro. All they do is CC you and be annoying, but you kill them in one push, anyways, right? Siege defense towers, bro. You know these thingies that you put outside of a siege base. Who cares?
Yeah.
No,
It's
make
actually more
something,
of a
yeah.
meme than actual something viable to use. Every time I see a clip of someone using that tower, it's just a fun one. Or maybe a Suck Ranger
Wait,
blasting
the
into
tower,
that.
right? Yeah, wait, I remember. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Are we satisfied with what we've said about Uncapped Node Wars? I think so far it's pretty much it. Just to end up this chapter, if you guys would need to make one change tomorrow for Uncapped to be giga fun, and you attending every single day because it's the best game mode in the game, what would that change be?
Oh boy.
Just one per person.
Okay.
Member caps.
Okay. Number
Yeah,
caps.
same for me. I mean, the dissolving alliances.
Okay.
For me too, with alliances. I mean, I've been barely not joining any Uncapped here and there, so that would probably help. Yeah, less people overall and more people to fight.
A utility rework, like say like Nord and Siege War utility, like cannons and stuff. A rework of that, because it can interact with all the other problems as well potentially. That would be cool.
I mean,
archive maces. Yes, right.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to say. Two main things I have in my mind. If they just actually do that, one of them, if they do both, it will revive the uncapped nodes. The one is, we already talked about that, cap, the participant cap, like maximum 45, 35, 40 and 45, depends the node. And the other one is, like I said, they balance that already broken classes, and also it should be like that. We're talking about the broken classes, isn't it? Berserker, Striker, and the Mystic, the carpet meta. Like, let's say that PA nerfed them. CMs, GMs sent feedback and they nerfed them. Players will find another metas. So not only for this carpet meta, no matter what type of meta, listening the feedbacks and urgently fixing the solutions in few weeks when we whine about it. It's impossible, I know, but two things. Like carpet meta is a specific example. If there is a problem, if there is a like significant meta in any PvP content, urgent fix. Like two things. Yeah, you said one thing, but these two things can revive Uncapped and everyone can go there. I don't care about the monster AP or other things.
Archive, Maces, you both missing?
Yeah, just reduce. Like, if it has to be one change, just start by reducing numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna second that too. The engine can't handle that many people. It's hard for the people running the guilds. So yeah, reducing numbers would definitely help.
And I'm gonna have to agree. I think just by that simple fix, because I like on PA's mentality and what we've seen so far, they want to do these small quality of life changes that maybe they don't take that much time developing. And I think this specific change is such an easy and fast one that they can make, and it would actually help so much. So like by tweaking this number, sure, like maybe you can argue there should be more stuff to add into it in order to make it like better, because if you reduce the amount of players, then the HP for their structures and such is gonna feel more oppressive because maybe it feels more tanky or whatever. Maybe something develops after that. But just because of that number, I think the environment of Uncapped PvP, not worse, it would be much, much better. So, yeah. Do we conclude the Uncapped Node Wars, guys?
Yep.
Have we let everything out? Have we bent everything?
I think so.
For the most part, yep.
Siege. Let's talk about
I
Siege.
got one question, dude, because both you, Hygaa, and Kai, you both said that Valkyrie wasn't tanky, and I don't understand it. I mean, I'm one of those guys. I bought 6 Bonn DR crystals. I got 550 DR on the, DP on the.
So,
Out.
yeah, so Valk feels tanky if you slot the 6 crystals. But if you want to find a balance for an hybrid build so that you can also do damage, it's way more effective on these Gantlers and Berserker. Well, not on Berserker, because Berserker's not going to do damage no matter what he builds. But on Gantlers, it becomes a problem because of how the state of the game is right now. You cannot have enough AP and accuracy to beat what they offer. And that's why they feel so oppressive. But you cannot do that on Valk. You're going to feel so bad if you try to build any sort of evasion on Valkyrie. So, like, there's not a chance that you are gonna run any hybrid.
Yeah.
Like if you want to reduce the DP, you would reduce your numbers into, let's say, 800 DP. And by then, trust me, I'm a sage, and I think all the sages here, if you fucking run only 800 DP, I'm gonna murder you. Me personally, I'm pretty sure Archive and Tassader can say it. If you find military and Jason on Ace on Guild League, you're gonna blow them up. Hello? You just blow them up. They don't feel tanky at all.
Yeah.
But that's just my take.
They run pretty high damage builds.
The thing
that
is,
too,
like,
but
at Valkyrie type of classes, they are shield classes. They need to be tanky like Striker and Berserker. They are just wearing glows, and the other is just completely naked beast, naturally tanky.
I mean,
with less items. And the other problem is that it's okay being tanky. There's no problem. While they're being tanky, they are the most useful, most utility classes in the game. Like Striker being tanky like you do, almost immortal, also deal 10 times more damage than you do. You just, every 25 seconds, you throw 1 vacuum. Sometimes you heal your friends every 30 seconds. If you can just go in and try to just use your purification, it's front guard. You just bam, you CC it.
Yeah.
And it's okay,
Also,
totally okay. But compared to other tanky shits, like your utility, and we don't need to talk about that. I'm on Valkyrie main, and I can understand what your point. But think about the Striker going in, less tanky stats, but feel the same amount of tankiness. Immortal, throwing damage, lots of protected CC. Same for the Berserker. Same for the Mystic. 12 seconds, like impossible to run out that shit vacuum. And also knockdown at the end of it. Casting it like 2-3 seconds, and 9 seconds after, while the class is shitting CC around it, and he will do vacuum again. And he has a PA, she just do this. And from 0 to 100, instant HP recovery. These are too much compared to Valkyrie's. Like, just be tanky. I don't fucking care like if Valkyrie tanky.
I mean, the other
that's
thing is...
self-sustain.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
The thing is, The problem, like, here's the problem. Like, the main problem with Valkyrie is that she has no self-sustain. Purification is garbage. It's 600 HP every 6 seconds. And because you said, like, heal 30 seconds, I started laughing. I mean, they're a minute and a half now, right? And the Rabam is a minute and 50. So the utility of Valkyrie got cucked. So yeah, a full carpet Valkyrie lost value compared to a striker who has an insane amount of CC spam.
There you go.
But I mean,
Congrats.
it's okay. It's okay.
The Valkyrie is the normal one. The Valkyrie is the normal one. You sacrifice AP completely. You're being tanky. You have some special utilities. Rarely you use them. You're making difference. But they have spammable utilities, and they're spamming it non-stop while being tanky and also offensive.
Yalo, you go.
Okay, no, all I want to say is the class that you mentioned, some of them are self-sufficient, some aren't. Like a Valkyrie is gonna get run down. It doesn't matter if it has a lot of I'm talking about Guild League, okay? A Valkyrie can work if you have a comp around it. These classes that you mentioned, like Striker, Awakening Mystic, okay, they don't need a comp. They will work like perfectly by itself. Like a Valkyrie, for example, it does have utility, right? But I'll be honest, if I see a Valkyrie, I just go ahead and grab it, right? And just fucking kill it. Like it's not that hard to run down a Valkyrie, unironically. The other class that you mentioned, they are literally self-sufficient. You can put them anywhere in any comp and they will do work. That's also a big factor. Like they are not dependent on other classes as much. I mean, that's a common theme with like strong classes. They're not dependent on other classes to work or function properly, right? Like that's the biggest thing. And one other thing is the class in Carpet, I'm talking for Guild League in particular, right? They have 0 issues moving from A to B, perma. They're like perma moving. That's what also makes them like hard to deal with, right? And Kite, for example, for certain classes. So it's a big mix of everything, right? Being self-sufficient, having all these tools, and basically fitting in every possible comp without any drawback of having them in. Like you would never say no having a striker was on your team. Like basically, it doesn't matter what you have. Like it's always gonna be good. It doesn't matter what the comp is. It will always be viable. But yeah, that was my point.
Okay. Alright. Now it's the end of Uncapped.
Let's talk about Siege.
Let's move on.
Like they almost nothing changed about Siege. Maybe they changed that horse is like they just added lots of horses in the game. What was the name of that thing? The wall, the invisible wall is not allowing you to just go in, and it just increased the chance to hold the castle. Before than that, it was impossible to hold castle. Now you have a chance to defend it. Yeah, you guys know that I did millions of sieges in this game. Before that system, it was impossible to hold the castle. At the end of the day, you will lose it slowly, but now you can hold it. Even if if your enemy is just well designed their tactic strategy as well, it's okay. 2 enemies can reach the castle, but in equal circumstances, the castle holder can defend against maybe up to 2. But what is the chronic issue of that system? People most of the time crying about that. I agree. The status, why they are that much tanky? Like slowly let the flanks or flex players, kill them slowly, but slowly. They are extremely tanky. The entire guild, we tried to kill at once, 40-50 people, very hard to kill. Maybe they changed it, I can't remember. It's been a long time that I didn't do proper siege. We're doing it, but it's not proper. So
it's the same.
Yeah, and also the rewards of the siege. Siege is longer than Node War, and we are just consuming lots of consumables. Like few months ago, it was live on Twitch. We did Medaya Uncapped. It took like 3 hours or something. It was really nice. I enjoyed, and we won it. And I did the calculation on the stream how much money I spent on that siege. 9 billion silver.
Oh god.
9 billion silver. All the tendons, all the consumables. And I used Immortal Perfume. Imagine I not use Immortal Perfume.
Oh my god.
What I got as a winner, 3 billion silver. Imagine you are the side of the, you lose the fight. How much money you get? 1 billion maybe? So the siege incomes should be really high, even if you lose it. I'm not saying make 10 billion for lose, but at least 3 billion for lose. But I'm just giving an example, okay? Don't take the numbers. 10 billion for win. So you should feel like I won it and it's good. So this can encourage people too. So let's talk about the siege.
Okay, let's start from Palpaw if you want. We start that way.
Bro, I mean, we go back to the member cap issue. I mean, I haven't played a siege in over half a decade, probably longer. Pass.
Yeah.
Sorry, just
That's fine. And I'm gonna be fast too because I haven't attended Siege in a very long time, but that's for, personal schedules, not as a slackers, Bexito. Not is because of that, because if I could, I would. But what I want to add on this is that whenever I participated, the most, how to say, frustrating part of that mode is feeling how the servers are reaching its limit and you not being able to play the game properly. So like server issues, a lot of people, a lot of concentration. And not gonna lie, it should be that way, but there should also be ways to help the server to maintain a little bit more stability. That's the only thing that I'm gonna add because it's the only feeling that I got from Siege whenever I participated. You can go, Mace.
Yeah, for Siege, like I'm just looking through the notes, major problems with the Siege. It is very expensive because it's lengthy mode. So yeah, like they said, just reward people, encourage people to attack because when you're on the attacker side, especially, like you're gonna die so many times and you're gonna get farmed unless it's like a big Zerg. Especially if it's a 1v1, it's pretty much impossible these days to kind of win. So like you have 2-3 guilds with you, you're constantly gonna die. So give us some money for the trouble. It's a 3-hour thing on a Saturday night. So why are you punishing people just by making their bank accounts smaller at the end of it? And then most people don't want to show up for it. That's a big problem. Reduce the number of players for sure because again the engine can't handle it. So yeah, I think those would kind of in a nutshell make it more appealing to people.
But you guys also like talking about the game engine thing, but the castle's mostly designed for the 100 men, for the defend. Do you guys think that people can defend the castle with the less people? That's also a problem.
But you're reducing the amount of people both sides.
I don't know.
The ones defending and the ones attacking, right?
So for defending 100, I would prefer 100 versus 200 instead of 50 versus 100. There are lots of places that you need to cover. They will non-stop attack, but you will have less amount of people. I don't know.
I think it would. That's for me. It would lose the essence, right? Because Siege is supposed to be that big fight of everyone just accomplishing the castle. I think I would rather lower down the numbers because if you think it that way, the pushes would be like only 50 versus 50, and another push, it would sort of balance. I wouldn't like make the defender 150.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my take.
Also, like I have to add something. Like I have no sponsorship with AMD Ryzen thing, but you guys know that EDO's codes are like old. Engine is old and optimized for the 6 physical cores mostly, and it's working like better. And for the current situation of the game, if you guys want to make a PC, a system, and more stable. People calling, for example, I have problems in Siege or Node. My game is just like smooth as F. Like even I just published a photo with the new 3D CPUs giving you huge boost on your stable FPS and other things. I had like 60-70 FPS in the War of the Roses. Meanwhile, 300 people trying to fight against each other. I even streamed a few days ago in the War of the Roses. I streamed and it was smooth. No desync, no stutter, no other things. So I know it's pay to win part of the game, not only like buying pearls, but if you do some investment on your CPU, not GPU, especially 9000 X3D, it will mostly solve your stutter and the Siege issue besides the lag issue, and you can solve it maybe with the exit lag a little bit.
I need that sort of configuration that you did because I have a 3XD, whatever name it has, and for me it's a little bit troublesome, so you need to give me that.
I mean, it
that secret
definitely
tech.
helps. Like, it definitely helps if you optimize the CPU. But
Yeah.
I'll be honest, for me, it's also patch-to-patch reliance. Like, some patches, my game feels buttery smooth. Then one patch comes in, and it feels stuttery for some reason. I don't know. It's kind of RNG for me.
You are getting old, my
honest.
friend. That's why sometimes your brain stutters. I used to.
It depends on how effective the pill is that day, man.
Like maybe it is that, but I don't know. It really just feels random at times. Like some places also when we do like Node Wars raids, Medaya feels god awful. Like I don't know. Like the FPS feel horrible there. It feels completely stuttery when you play it.
Okay.
Well, when it
You go,
comes
Ozzy.
to Siege, what happened to the dragon, man? What happened to that?
It will come. It will come. I'm pretty sure it's
Jay said
something
it.
that they're preparing for the new region. very convinced. Like non-official, whatever, is just a prediction. Dragons are gonna be a thing because people actually love them, and I include myself on that.
Okay. So there's one thing that bothers me though about sieges. What is it called? Like, for example, Balenos, right? There's no castle and so on. Fighting on Balenos is completely fine in my opinion, right? And it's capped and so on, whatever. But then you have castles, right? So then you have to check which castles are decent to push, decent to kill, because right now 1v1s are not possible in most of the castles. But on some castles, it is actually quite, it is somewhat feasible, right? Somewhat possible. I did most of my sieges in Calphion and Medaya. However, last week we had a siege on Valencia, and I cannot imagine how you can 1v1 that castle on even numbers and even skill, how you can 1v1 that castle and win. Actually, the guild in the castle can even be a little bit worse. Maybe 80 people too. I don't think there is a chance that you can win if the guild holds properly, like smartly, and doesn't do a big macro misplace. I really don't think it is possible, especially in I'm mentioning Valencia because a big part of sieges is ballistas and stuff, right? Man, you can't hit anything inside Valencia castle with ballista. You can't shoot unless you cannon from inside, unless you ballista from inside, but that's not even possible because there's too many twists and turns. Like, it's not possible. It cannot be ballista. You can only cannon. And even then there's like limited amount of spots because the castle is like so high up and you can't shoot that high. So I feel like that's a big problem regarding counterplay. Right? If you ever want to hold a castle for several weeks and people only have their eyes on Medaya or Calphion because the people will have capped and the other people want to, go for the mode and whatever, then they will just go there and you can hold Valencia Castle for weeks if you want. But I mean, there's that. It has its own problems. Siege wars in itself, right? Like a conquest, you start thinking of like a lot of people. AKA, you probably don't want to 1v1 something like 100v100. You probably don't want to do that. Then you might want to balance it then around at least 2 guilds coming there and the castle defender having something to do against that, right? Because from as far as I know, if you're inside the castle and you want to maybe win the 2v1 or whatever, your hands are a little bit tied, just a little bit. I mean, you do have a bit of an advantage because your base is just so incredibly stupid hard to kill. Like, people can't just fly in there and just fucking completely one-shot your base, which is the castle. But I don't know. There's just a bit of a problem. You can say that, oh, you're not supposed to 1v1 castles, but right now there's nobody that can across all regions make fights happen everywhere, right? Last week, for example, there was only a proper siege on Balenos. Only on Balenos there was a proper siege. On EU, the rest was Liberation, aka continuing to keep it, and the other one was, I don't know.
Asking
The
other
other one
was
was and the Zergon Valencia, right? What the fuck is that? Like, I don't know. There's no point. There's legit no point in balancing it like that. They said something about the gates. I remember that in a dev video where they're like, we're trying to do something where if you want to attack, you want to have your gate closed, right? It only makes sense it doesn't make sense that the attacker needs to close your gate, right? That's a backwards logic. I remember they said that in the video, that they don't like that logic. They haven't done anything about that either, though. Like, the goal is closing a gate, even though you're trying to enter. Whatever. It's just a bit stupid. But that's just maybe the role player in me, maybe. But
Okay.
it's okay.
Tassader, do you do any siege?
Recently, not many. The one thing I do want to agree with is that higher caps do fit sieges better. It's kind of made for that, and I personally am willing to take some performance issues like once a week to have like a bigger fun fight maybe. And I think as soon as they actually buff the rewards a bit, maybe you can actually have like good fights across multiple regions. But yeah, beyond that, I have not much to add.
Okay. Yalo?
No, I mean what I just said. I think it's okay to have like once per week a big ass fucking fight. I think it's fine. Even if you have like shitty optimization in that fight, right? If the node was obviously smaller scale and this one is big, that would be nice as an exchange.
Okay. Archive?
Yeah, same. Like, I like Siege being a big fight. I would rather see PA making adjustment on the technical side of things than reducing numbers on Siege. But we know, PA knows that's not an easy solution. I still think they should get into it. As for just Siege as a content as a whole, right now it's just stagnating. It's just people either sniping castle or people zerging castle to then either have an unbalanced 1v1 or just a gift most of the time. And then just like in Uncapped Nodors, we have the problems with some, especially a certain guild just going for snipe with the aid of someone else for the free rewards.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's talk about the War of the Roses. I don't know how many of you attending that every week, every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going there. Mostly I'm having fun. Like people calling that, like I said, I have no problems even in the War of the Roses about the optimization because of my system. But people most of the time, whining about my game is crashing, lots of things and all other things. But what are the chronic things in the War of the Roses? We have guilds, but most of the time, same guilds are just leading it. And sometimes they don't want to lead it, and it happened a few times. It just passed. Just didn't happen because nobody just approved that, even if they're like a big guild. So I don't know what is the other situations, other servers.
When it comes to War of the Roses, in EU at least, there has only been a few guilds that have established to like make some sort of fun and like more fun fights happen in War of the Roses, right? And that is one of them is Mythic, and the other one is Comfy, and they do War of the Roses pretty well, right? They're the one of the largest and most successful uncapped alliances. They make like they fought, I think, on the one that was before the last one, they fought, and it was a pretty decent fight, and it went on for like quite a while, and it was a bit of a back and forth. It felt like, at least. So that was a bit fun, right? That was one of the most fun War of the Roses. But there is still a big problem because the Third Legion is so unpredictable. Right. And it can happen that sometimes you get a bad roll and it's just cooked. It's just completely cooked because even though your guild might be somewhat better, if all the gamers that didn't get into the War of the Roses leading guilds get somehow 80% of them get put into the opposing side, then it's over, right? It's entirely dependent on your Third Legion. Because I feel like proper preparation and understanding the mode and doing well is one thing. And the other thing is the Third Legion. So there's that. But there was also really fun ones that were without any leading guilds. Those were actually one of the most fun War of the Roses. We had like 2 of them back then. We went on a little bit of a protest, right? And we wanted to try it out in EU. And I think in NA they often have that as well. Like lately, they people don't apply in NA, I think, as a protest. I'm not sure though. So that was fun. Because people had to think for themselves. It was scuffed because there's no system. Like, for example, they said, the GMs become the leading guilds or whatever, right? But there's no missions. There's no missions. You can't get Medals of Sylvia or whatever it's called. People don't know where to go. What you had to do is you need to enable some sort of chat, like roleplay chat or something. I'm not sure what it was. And then point out some directions on where to go here and there and this and that, right? It was a bit, but it was still fun. But that's the state of the War of the Roses, in my opinion. Yeah.
Someone else is War of the Roses enjoying?
I try to enjoy it every time. I usually fail at enjoying it, mainly because it's very RNG. You just end up on the side that's getting steamrolled, or you end up on the side that's doing the steamrolling. But it's every 2 weeks, so it's 50-50 chance usually. From my experience, anyway. I think I've done like 10 or so far on EU and on Mina in total. So it's fun when it works. It really is. Like if there's 2 serious guilds coordinating, and then the Third Legion, like Specs said, is kind of composed of an equal skill level, and gear also matters a lot because it's uncapped. Then it can be really fun. I think the game mode has a lot of potential, but also I'm seeing like the rewards are making people kind of go for, okay, let's end this as quickly as possible so we can get our free money and get out of here. Kind of mentality is being more and more prevalent lately, I see. Because like the last one I was in Third Legion. It ended in 25 minutes. 25. It's like supposed to be this huge, grand RVR content, 300 people fighting 300 people. No, we just PvE'd for 25 minutes and then it was over. So it's maybe the rewards should be boosted. I'm not sure how you could fix like the Third Legion issue, honestly, but it has a lot of potential. I hope they make it work somehow. So yeah, that's my take.
Anybody else does War of the Roses here?
I've been doing War of the Roses pretty much every week. Sometimes it's a
Okay.
leading guild and some in Comfy. And the very few times where it's somewhat of a balanced fight, there's somewhat of a balance between like a stronger guild that can just brute force and a weaker guild that can still macro their way in. It can still be a fun fight, or when two guilds just try to backdoor each other for a while, that's still a fun fight. But I think this is also tied to the state of Uncapped in general. Since there are not many guilds, the gap of strength between the guilds is also considerable. So the cases when it feels like a stomp on either side are way more, like, it happens more often than not, and it's not great. For this to fix the third legion, I think the only way they could do that would probably have to rely. I don't know if you guys remember last, I think it was Calcium Ball, when they talked about introducing a global PvP rating system for the PvP guilds that would depend on their performance in Node or Sieges, AOS, Guild League, and such. I think it would have to rely on that, because otherwise, outside of gear score, there is no way for the system to try and make the third legion balanced on both sides. And gear score is, well, it's not even half of the picture when it comes to balancing things.
Also, it's still set at 700 minimum, and 700 gear score is like, almost like out
Nothing.
of season kind of
Yeah.
levels at this point.
Yeah, that's something. No,
that needs
yeah.
to be updated.
So I'm gonna. Sorry, go on.
I wanted to say, even I have 700 gears.
Oh no! Oh no, Palpaw. No. Okay, so I'm gonna do 2 questions for those of you guys that do War of the Roses. I cannot include myself because I'm not able to do it. As a concept, you guys have said it is viable, it is possible to have fun on it. So you are agreeing that as a concept, the fight can be a thing. Like, it is a successful concept that maybe with some fixes that you guys have mentioned can work. Do you guys agree with that?
Yeah.
Probably, yes.
If they make the commander guilds, if they get actual rewards, maybe it encourage the high veteran guilds. It encourages the veteran guilds to lead it, and it can be fun for everyone. If one side is with less experience, then it's just turned into PV game. The guy is just clean the entire map, nodes, no tactic, nothing, not a special team, and it just takes 25 minutes, 30 minutes at max. It's because it takes too long to kill some bosses in the nodes. But if both sides is equally strong or close to each other, then like this week we did good War of the Roses. Even an Awakened Dracania player, I had fun in the War of the Roses.
Oh god.
Because it took 2 hours. Nobody could win it against each other. One is just doing good push, the other one is just making another tactics, breaking the entire system. Like, it was good, and I had fun. People had fun, I believe. But it was so rare. Maybe every 6 months or something.
Someone was gonna say something, I believe. Was it you?
I can say something.
No.
It was Beth. Sorry.
Regarding the incentive, like in terms of the rewards, I think the rewards are pretty okay. But you know why? Only because of the Thunderbolt traces. I think right now that's the only point. That's the only incentive. That's why I think also is the motive of many guilds are trying to farm this, like the participation in this mode, in this mode, War of the Roses, because of the trace of the Thunderbolt. And there's like a nice little bag, it's cute, but whatever. And you could argue, but what about the medals of Sylvia, right? What they give whenever you complete a mission in the War of the Roses. All you get is these shitty little boxes for 50 Medal of Sylvia, right? All you get is these shitty little boxes, the RNG boxes that you get from winning a node war sometimes, these blazing loot boxes, Those thingies where all you get is an Akrad, Olukas, or maybe, a Perfume of Courage.
Sounds rough.
It's just so bad. It's rough. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order, we would agree that would you guys say it's a popular game mode? Like, do you actually see people playing it, participating on it?
Yes, but I would say most people that sign up for it, both in the leading guilds and Third Legion, actually play the game mode. The problem is that there's still some people that just go in for the bag, and they do 2 kills, 2 deaths, and then they AFK for the bag.
Okay.
I still think that's, it's gonna happen no matter what you do. It happens in Siege, it happens in Node, it always happens. But I think if you do some minor tweaks and revive the PvP scene in general, it's gonna be drastically better.
Because you would... sorry, go.
I just remember something. Some guilds, for example, some members in the guilds, they sometimes want to grief, and they are just taking the chariots, elephants, and all the siege weapons, and they're just throwing from the edge without reason. It happened a few times in my server, and I've heard that in maybe Asia it happened a few times. I can't remember. People doing it for, I don't know. So if PA let the commander choose who's gonna ride or who can only ride, it can be good.
Okay.
Simply
just make guild members be able to use the stuff. Because Third Legion, it's easy that they don't care about actually using them.
Even in the guilds, people just grief them. Like randomly, he hates, for example, the commander. He do it. Like the commander should just appoint, for example, 30 people that he can trust and use all the elephants and the chariots. And also, these people that he will make sure these people will also cover them, because if you lose the elephant, it dies. You cannot recover it. It's also an important thing.
Okay. So overall, with the stuff that we mentioned, it would help the mode to become more popular and like actually balancing the fights and making a little bit of boost in the rewards, maybe to make it more appeal. But overall, would you guys say the mode is like a pass? Like overall, the game mode? We started with ranking overall, like we could give a rank to this mode.
Hard to give it a rank, but I think I would pass it. It is a good concept, definitely.
Okay. Specs?
I wouldn't rank it either, but it's like decent. It's cool. There's some strategy involved. The commander UI is pretty fun.
Bro, not the commander. You don't bring it up.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, but it's I don't know. There's too many holes in the system. Especially like what stops somebody from just walking up into the castle and somehow, right, there's a full carpet or something, sitting inside and just permanently seeing the commander. Like, what's stopping them from doing that?
And then give them ideas.
And now I mean, EU just got a new idea, because I don't think many people have done it before. From what Quenya just said, I can't wait. I can't wait for all the chariots to be in the sea. Interesting hole in the system, I won't lie.
Bro, like EU community is so naive. Like this toxicity, like another level in our servers.
Yeah, all we do is cannon Olun's and that's it.
Cannon Olun's? Bro, it's just a casual thing.
Yeah. But,
okay.
yeah, interesting.
So
Let's
what about the
move on
capped contents? By the way, like before we talk about, like you guys said that capped Node War and Siege, let's talk both together. I want to say three things. Please make the all cap contents in the game AOS, including everything. Whoever has a cap, one single cap, that it will be easy to balance classes around it whenever they balance. There are lots of different caps in the game. iOS has cap. Yeah, it has no cap, but the gear cap is naturally cap. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, 5, 4, fuck it. Capped will be capped. That's all. So it will be easier to just balance everything, because whenever you just go into Tier 1, for example, Hashashin is being broken, but in Tier 2 it's being complete garbage because of the some modifiers. It will be more, beneficial for the developers to balance the game. So whenever, for example, PAL knows that which class is broken at which tier, and instead of that, if there will be one tier, we can just send reports. We can say this class is broken, it's because of that problems, because of these things, like we did in the Uncapped, carpet builds, and cheap crystals, and also broken self-studs. These are the main problems. Fix them. So for example, we can send feedbacks easily. Capped has this problem because of that. These are the solutions. Please. You can do that. And overall, you guys said that cap is working, more classes working in cap nodes. I 100% agree, especially in the sieges. I'm having lots of fun in the capped.
I think, Pal, this is your terrain. You can go ahead and give us the speech of your life for capped content, if you want.
I mean, I haven't really prepared that, honestly. And I'm sorry to disappoint right from the get-go. I don't know anything about Tier 1s currently. I don't even know if you can build a full base at this point. I know that at some point you could only place structures and barricades and a flag. I don't know if that's still a thing or not. What I know is that Tier 1 is just limited to the new system. Occupation. I can't even tell you if the game mode is alive or not. I can talk about Tier 2. Which I mean, I'm just gonna jump on what Quindia said. I like the idea of everything being one cap, but there are definitely some things that needs to be considered, like especially when you think that a node war doesn't last 3 minutes like a Solaire round, so the healing reduction there makes sense, stuff like that, and also how low of a cap do we need to go, because I feel like capped content was obviously designed for beginners or fresh out of season characters, so you would have to legit lower the requirements down to Pen to Vala or whatever it is nowadays, so that people can finish their season level to 61 and jump into Tier 1 node wars. And even then, like, the problem is you need way more gear. I mean, I haven't had 700 gear score until last week. That's the truth. and I don't hit the current tier 2 caps at all. I need to drop all the optimized stuff like extra BSR crystals. Back in the day, there used to be Chimera earrings for extra back attack damage or down attack, whatever it was. I can't run any of that. I'm struggling with hitting the caps, man. That being said, yeah, so ideally you'll have more gear than the caps, way more gear. Sure. That being said, it's the complete opposite of uncapped content. We have 0 carpets. I feel like in the current tier 2, it's full assassins and self-sustaining damage dealers. Running a blob fight is very hard. My guild has done a lot of adjusting because the old tier 1 beginner caps, they featured tankiness. So you could run a blob fight guild or a raid. We had Sucknovas, we had Guardians, Valkyries. I mean, Valkyries wasn't like nerfed back then, obviously. Yeah, tier 2 is rats left and right. I mean, Awakening Mago, Assassin. You fly in, you press 3 skills, you kill 5 people and you fly out again. Dosas, range damage dealer, big AoEs, 10 kilometer iframe dashes, full iframe SA rotations with emergency blocks. That's the classes you see in the current tier 2.
Okay, so yeah, I was gonna ask, since there's a lot of more variety in classes, what would you say? Because a lot of people actually agreed when we were talking about Uncapped. What component do you think that capped node wars makes more appealing for all these tier lords or people that actually want to come down? Why is that mode more fun than actual Uncapped node wars?
I mean, it comes down again to member caps. We have 30-man caps. You don't need to run like, obviously some classes will perform better, but it matters if you bring, I don't know, an archer or a suck ranger, like, or even a suck staffer. These classes get run down obviously, but I mean, in Siege Wars, you put suck rangers on walls and they just blast the gate or something. I can't really talk about that. Yeah, you have more. You can make more classes work. Obviously, some classes are going to be better, but the performance difference, the gap is not as crazy. And I'm 100% certain that the lower caps are more appealing to players because it requires more skill, right? If you are a number 1 in 100, what you do is like whatever. But you have a lot of impact as a solo player when you fight 20-man blobs. Because in a 30-man war, people have 4 in defense and 6 in utility, and then you have a main blob of 20, maybe at most. So there's that. Yeah, and you don't need to worry about hitting a carpet, actually. I started playing Guild League also when I bought the DR crystals, and I went in with the full DR Valkyrie. I mean, you guys said, okay, you fight military, but he's on AP because he wants to deal damage. I play Valkyrie as a support, so I favor tankiness, and I went in as a full CC bot and put people on the ground, but essentially I misplayed it. I mean, Valkyrie is... Wait a second, I think I lost my track here. How did I get here to Guild?
It's fine. One thing leads to the other, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So, because I for some reason I assumed they would be hitting me, but it's just not the case. Like in Guild League, you need to, or in Uncapped, you need to avoid the carpet somehow, if possible. In Uncapped, you can actually, you can kill everyone, and I think that's the appealing part. You can dive in, pick a 1v3, and then actually just end up killing everyone instead of worrying about a striker gauntlet just Wing into your face and you can't do anything about it, right?
And I want to ask, I'm gonna use your turn just to throw out my tier 2 questions, because I know everyone here at least has touched tier 2, but I really want to know your specific opinion on this, since I'm pretty sure like you're the most experienced player in that aspect. You mentioned the recent changes on the caps, right? And how that is gonna affect your personal case because you don't have that much gear. Do you think that the company is gonna try to like move all those capped players more into the uncapped scene? Do you think it's the mission with this change that they have implemented?
I don't know what they're thinking. I don't think they're thinking at all. I'm sorry to say that.
No, but
It's like the power creep, everyone's getting more gear, let's increase the caps. That's I cannot answer this question. I don't know what they're thinking.
He's not grinding. He's still 700 for like 4 years.
but for real, like I wonder, these caps have not been implemented yet, right?
They have, yeah.
They have, okay. Yeah, I wasn't very sure in which paths they were gonna implement it. Are the caps good, or were the old ones better? What do you think?
They're fairly similar. The old tier 2 and the current tier 2 are very similar in terms of damage output and tankiness. I think we have like a 5% damage increase, but it's not noticeable at all if you hit the actual caps.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering if you felt more tanky, more damage, or no, but it's good to know that they have managed to keep the balance by upgrading the gear. I think they should learn that track on how it's working and apply it to other game modes. Okay.
But where do you stop? Like where do you put the end on Uncapped? Yeah, because
I
it
think
is a content designed for probably designed for beginners, right?
no, but I think the capped concept as a whole is a success. Like even the most experienced players and more geared are having fun over there. PA has to explore why is that a fact and just apply the same sort of logic on why is it successful to the other game modes. So yeah, I enjoy tier 2 as a whole. The only thing that when I was on Athanasi always kept me wondering, I would be well ahead of the gear limitations, and I always had that sort of eager to move up and see what's outside. And until my guild decided to stop doing Node Wars, I kept doing capped. And yeah, it was just the feeling of what would happen if I actually use my real gear. And wow, I just found the shittiest meta possible. No, but yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that with how, I mean, not good because in itself the Node Wars itself has its issues, obviously, like the game mode as a whole. It could be better. But yeah, they should sort of transmit that way of balancing to the current state of gear in Uncapped. That's my thoughts. If anyone wants to add something,
what you said is also true, right? Like capped is just super accessible. Like imagine you have a friend in an old guild that hasn't played the game. You cannot really invite him to an uncapped guild, can you? And go like, yo, have fun now, PvP, right? He has to go to capped. Like capped has to be done. I just don't like the idea that you have like two different caps. You have tier 1 and tier 2, which is kind of weird that you have like multiple caps in this game, right? I mean, Kanya mentioned it before, which is weird because on every cap it's different. On tier 1, you don't deal any damage. On tier 2, you suddenly start turbo blasting, right? Randomly for some reason. And then uncapped, you have a completely different issue. So boiling it down to one capped, right, Node War system would be good, and not having two.
Node and Siege.
And again, capped has to be in the game.
Everything that in this game capped, put them in the same line, a little bit up, a little bit less. For example, in the sieges, there is no HP cap, isn't it? They are capped, but there is no HP cap. Bro,
yeah,
like,
it's random,
if you just stack HP, 4 people jumping on you, you can just get up. If you make mistake, if 4 people hitting you, you should die, isn't it? Like, it happens many times. While I'm in the siege, I am having like 16, 17k HP or something. Like and with a tendon, and you're just healing yourself with a potion, and they have to. 4 of them needs to do perfect combo. It's impossible. Even in the crowd places, I just get up. Like imagine the Berserker, other players. Like if there is a cap on AP and DP, there should be HP cap too, because those HP is just designed for the uncapped. Because you hit more compared to caps, it has to be like that. I don't know what you guys think.
I feel like HP and also something like the damage reduction in SA are what helps. Actually, the only thing that kind of helps defining class identity in capped content, because otherwise the classes that are supposed to hold the front line and be tanky wouldn't be able to.
Okay. Alright, guys, thoughts on tier 2 specs? Yalo?
Okay, the other thing I wanted to say is, I mean, what Palpaw said with it should be a beginner thing, right? Because it kind of makes no sense playing this game and then just doing capped if 90% of the game is grinding, right? I mean, when are you going to use your gear, basically, if not for uncapped? So it should be there as an alternative where you can PvP, but I still think uncapped should be like equally as important, in my opinion, if you play this game.
It's just a sad situation.
Yeah, exactly. Because for me personally, I'm like grinding, right? I don't grind to grind fast in PvE, as weird as it sounds. I just want to like have it in PvP, right? And going back to capped, I mean, I enjoy capped more, but it does feel bad, kind of being like 800 gears gone and being like, yo, I'm gonna go to capped now because this feels better to play. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's my issue, basically.
And like I started on EU a few months ago, and my main goal was to hit the T2 caps ASAP, so I can do both T1 and T2 whenever I wanted. And now I've kind of stopped because I know what's waiting for me, and so I'm not
Oh, no.
grinding anymore. I'm 740 and great. I can put on all the BSR stuff. I can optimize for T2, T1. And yeah, what you're saying is right. Uncapped should be a part of it. I should have that goal, but I just can't bring myself to grind towards that because I know it's going to be less fun. Why would I grind for less fun? Well, I'm just enjoying what I have already, which is T2 and even T1.
All right.
Well, when it comes to capped, the thought about unifying caps and so on, there's different systems at play. I don't think it's really that feasible, right? Because in AOS, you get told pretty much what gear you have, right? You have this. This is all we have. Equip as you like, right? And in that way, it is capped only, right? Meanwhile, node-ware caps can be easily adjusted by just, capping the numbers, right? Even there, they don't really do it properly, right? Because in tier 1, for example, there's a bit of a problem with accuracy. Because it's okay to cap everything to 0%, but there's a problem if you let everything go to minus as well, right? So you can go minus in evasion rate, you can go minus in accuracy rates, and you can make motherfuckers miss everything, every single skill on you, and be a little bit tankier. So if you're going to cap it at 0, then at least exclude the negatives or just maybe work around it.
Okay.
But capped has changed a lot ever since they removed special evasion as well, in my opinion. It has changed a bit. And since they started in the damage cap, right? Because I always saw it like capped, also back in the day was always like, okay, there's a tankier cap and then there's a damage cap. Kind of, right? Back in the day, it was tier 3 was a bit of a damage cap. It was really enjoyable. And the tankier caps were like tier 2, depending on the class, right? And tier 1. And tier 4 was also tanky, right? But it was cringe a bit because in tier 4, you had to run max special evasion and shit. But nowadays, there's just tier 2 and there you die 100%. Anything you do, every single class usually can succeed in it. You just pop a deep sea, a harmony drought, and you one-shot everything. So small adjustments to that, and it's good. But I'm not complaining, honestly, because this is probably the best node-ware content that can be gotten right now, since there's no carpets.
One thing, what if you just use the Solaire gear wheel for like every cap content? I mean, Archive was saying that some classes are like designed to be tanky because of their passives, I think, right? Because of HP. It would not influence it, right? So it would like not be counterproductive if you just use the Solaire gearing system. I don't know if you guys like the whole gimmicks though of like having special attack modifiers and stuff in capped. Is that something that you think is good for the game? That you have like these little things min-maxing that you can do to be more efficient? Is that good or bad?
I mean, it gives more depth into the game, right? Because at least I'm not gonna talk because critical hit damage is a little bit okay. If I crit, I do more damage. Sure, very straightforward. But actually rewarding people for being either on the air or in the floor, I feel like it just gives more depth into the concept of PvP as a whole. So like you feel rewarded if they are CC'd. And I think that's something in Capped especially feels very rewarding, and it's not very rewarding on Uncapped, for example. And I think that on the previous podcast we mentioned the way maybe we could approach the carpet meta was actually boosting this sort of effects. And yeah, I just feel like it just gives more depth into the concepts of CCs, floor, air. That's my take.
By the way, there's one thing that just came to mind, right? It's regarding Capped. Capped was supposed to be seen as the intro, as the segue into Node Wars for guilds that are gearing up and trying to get into stuff, right? But I don't think right now that stands true anymore, right? Because I mean, one part is the problem with the node bar buff. It's kind of like the other part is the topics we mentioned at the start of the podcast with alliances and so on. But right now, there's not really an incentive to go down to capped either, right? Because people are like, I think mostly we're concerned about the node war buff. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's the most thing that I get. Whenever I announce a capped node war, they're like, oh, what? If I go there, I'll get my buff overwritten and I get 10 less AP? I'm not going there. Like, bro, it's just kind of cringe. I don't know. It's honestly really cringe.
That's why I believe that node war buff should be completely removed from the aspect of node war. Like it should be straightforward into bosses. Like maybe Garmoth being able to give a bigger one because it's more rare of a world boss or whatever, but it should be excluded for the concept of node war. Should be given somewhere.
PvE. I mean, it's a PvE buff, right? Like just doesn't benefit you in PvP whatsoever.
It makes no sense.
It's a purely PvE/life skill, I guess.
Yeah, to be honest, I believe this is also intentional on PA side. Like they did this when they also did the Nodal rework.
Yeah.
And the Nodal rework, if we want to call it a rework, but it did make kind of Nodals accessible to weaker guilds, even completely newbie guilds. So I think PA's intention with this was intentionally to funnel PvP players into PvE and vice versa. And I don't think that's a good thing, but I think it's PA's intention, and I don't know if they will go back on it.
The problem with that is, I mean, I completely get it, right? I mean, what you said, it's basically to lower in all the life skills, but it drastically like lowers node war quality, like in itself.
Yeah, it does. Oh, I know. Like
that's a side effect. Yeah, I know. I know what you mean. I'm just saying, like, I get it from the point that it's like what they're trying to do, right? It's what the ideas are. But I'm just saying, like, the drawback, right, of it is just this mess. Like people exactly.
Yeah.
It would be very detrimental, like if it's like something that is right now. So like I'm pretty sure that more than 60% of people right now doing Node Wars is just for that Node War buff. So if you remove that reward from Node War buff, like from Node Wars, I believe Node Wars would be dead. So I'm scared of doing it. That's one idea that I have in mind. Like it feels bad because of you get the lesser version, you do Uncapped, but then it reduces the quality of the gameplay. But if you remove it, who's gonna do it, right? And the scene is already suffering a lot, and that's what kind of keeps me like, I don't know, what would be the solution, guys? What would you do?
You would need to revive the scene first, make it healthy and inviting to people who want to PvP, and then you can remove the non-PvP related things.
This is legit a band-aid fix, like nothing else. It's just a band-aid fix on a bigger problem that is the PvP scene itself, right? I mean, if people would enjoy the modes, we would not have this discussion right now.
Yeah.
Of like debating if a life skill buff is like, I mean, appropriate buff is like relevant or not, right? Would not be the case if the PvP scene was actually healthy and properly working and people would enjoy it. And this whole topic would not even be a thing. Have to fix the core issues first.
Yeah.
My opinion too.
Buff is just like second, not the first thing, I believe. First, fix the other things for equalize the caps. In Uncapped, fix the issues of the carpet meta. All other things, reduce the the caps for the Uncapped, the participant cap, so people can attend if they want. If they want to just remove the alliance system from Node War and just keep it for the siege. So overall, these are good. They just bring that AP thing and the AP and life skill thing to draw attention of the casual PV players or the life skillers. Hey, come and join this new system. This new system is straightforward. Even you can just come with your guild. You can just join this system. But the problem is not the idea. The problem was the system. We gave millions of feedbacks, different podcasts, different ideas just sent to PA. What they did, what they actually changed what was the name of that system? Construction or Conquer?
Yeah, instruction and occupation, exactly.
Occupation
is the new one.
Like there are lots of good feedbacks about it, and I have a few of them. For example, what they said that the randomness in the PvP will make the situation more good, environment will be better, and less diplomacy. Okay, randomness, but for example, what we know that more chaos brings organic PvP always tasty. Well, we own that. Let's just remove the names of the enemy. Make everyone is anonymous enemy. You only know your good members' name. You only see your good members. You will not know which one is at the occupation. There will be no names. Nobody knows who is which guild. All other things. Hide them. Okay. And also remove the RNG system in it and how this new system will work. For example, if you win the fort, you will gain, I'm just giving numbers, 500 points. If you kill one person, 2 points. If your player dies, you lose 1 point. And this point system will just give whoever just invests more, that guy will be the one and he will win the node. He will get the number 1 reward and number 2, 3, something like that in the occupation system. So this will prevent the lasted thing. People just waiting in that thing, like 4 or 5 guilds, instead of doing PvP, all the Hiwachas attacking into the main castle, and everyone is just waiting. Let's go, last attack and RNG, and it just it's done, and the guy is just win. It's complete dog shit. Yeah. Instead of that, whoever just invest more value in the node war, more kill, more time to hold the castle in their hands, how many times it's just occupied, how many times it lose. You will give, you will take. You will give, you will take. At the end of the day, number 1, number 2, and everyone will be rewarded according to their invests. But everyone will be rewarded in a good way. For example, you can go there with your guilds, 3 or 4 guilds, 5 guilds or whatever, like there's only one fort. Let's say that you couldn't get the fort. You fought for like 50 minutes. You couldn't get the fort because this RNG shit. It's a RNG. You will get nothing, nada. You will consume lots of things. You will have no fun because the system is not fun, because game is not forcing you to do PvP. You're just waiting nearby and like HP is just lower, lower, lower. How about just hitting? Let's go there, and it is what it is. On the other hand, there is another stupid thing that they wanted to add a randomness, or they wanted to create a chaotic environment to increase the PvP in this occupation node. What is it? For example, if they're like until 13 guilds apply in one territory, one cap or whatever you say, put everyone in the same territory. Like
Yeah,
they're like 4 guilds.
that should be a thing.
It creates 4 or 5 guilds. It creates 2 different region, 2 guilds and 3 guilds in there. Like put 5 of them. I just said 13 is just a little bit more, but maybe 9 guilds in same region. The entire balance, dude. 9 guilds will create 4 different castles. People will fight wherever they want. Not everyone will go to the question mark fort. Like small guilds will go to the shortest one and they will fight for it, or maybe the strongest guild will fight for it. Also hide the names, so nobody will know who the fuck are you. And your opponent also not know, and they will fight against you. Also, they will not be able to do diplomacy like that. They cannot type each other, hey, don't attack me, or something. How can I know that if the member in front of me, my opponent, is your guild member? It's impossible to know.
Unless you all go on pink and your guild is the pink, you already know.
No. Do you guys remember the system that everyone will use the same costume in the sieges? You guys remember that? Randomly, your character will just wear that thing. If the enemy, like you will just notice the class because of the weapons, but the costume will be same. For example, any premium costume, for example, camouflage. Everyone will use camouflage. So how can you know that there are like 5 different guilds? How you can do diplomacy? They're like timers. How are you gonna know it? Like you have to win it. There are timers going question mark cannot in a time. So you have to fight for your own sake instead of doing diplomacy and organic PvP and chaos. This can make the occupation node system better than the old system, more active. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah. For me, the biggest detrimental for the occupation mode is what you mentioned, like the fact that all the guilds were, whenever it started and people were actually trying it and all that, it felt weird that not everyone was placed on the same region, because it didn't incentivize any sort of fight at all, because at the end of the day the number of guilds would stop, like the mission would go lower and lower, and it was like, why would you split 10 participant guilds into 5 on 5? It just kills completely the mode. You actually like reduce the chaos that you intentionally wanted to make, right? It was a little bit like it didn't make any sense at all. Also for me, like if by 1 week someone fucks up, I'm not gonna point who, but someone decides that we want to do the occupation mode for whatever reason. Right? It didn't happen at all, definitely. It just feels bad whenever you have this, I'm just gonna point at you guys, Insecure or whoever, the top EU guild, like just having another guild and the others not being able to touch and get any sort of participation because there's a literal 2v1. Like it just kills the complete purpose of it. So like the mode itself, I think it needed major, fixes. And like gathering all the people in one region. And one idea that I came up whenever this mode appeared in Node Wars was, I think the main issue of the mode is the lack of objectives, right? It's so chaotic in a sense that just hitting one stick and then having this last hit kind of RNG component, it just kills it completely. So in a way, to make it more appealing, I think there should be more objectives to accomplish. The first idea that I came up was like having control of one strategic point in order to be able to do damage to the stick. So let's say, I'm gonna put this example, but it could be any other thing. What if, in order to do a push to the stick, you would need to control an area, sort of an RBF area, right? If you control that area, you're allowed to do damage to the stick. it would kill the snipes, right? Because they would not be able to access to the reward or the last hit. And it will incentivize like more side fights, right? It would imply more chaos. Like imagine you build your base before pushing in that area, you control it. But in order for others to actually participate in the node war, they have to attack you over there. And you don't want to lose it. It would sort of mix a little bit things up. And yeah, I think it was an idea that I came up with, that it could have been a good way to approach that system. But I think it's a little bit more complex in development, and it would imply a little bit more time. So I don't know if it's feasible or actually possible for them to implement something like that. But yeah, that's what I would do to occupation mode.
I have actually some sort of grounded opinion on this, because I think there's a rather easy, not simple, not easy, but probably like simple fix to this. First, I want to go into what Quendia said with the guilds and stuff, and I like the idea of rewarding points. Yeah, I mean, it's like Siege, right? There was a time, or I don't know if this is still a thing in Siege, when you get points for kills, deaths, or destroying objectives. I really like the idea of that, because basically it rewards participation, what he mentioned, and it guarantees that you get a reward. So I really like the idea. I'm not a fan, I don't know, I'm not a fan of hiding the guild names. I mean, like in militia times, that you just saw, okay, militia. Or the reason behind it is I definitely approach fights different. If I know the guild, I know, because I'm shot calling, right? And I'm 100% know what resources I need to spend to win a fight against certain guilds. So if I don't know who I'm fighting, I'm going to overcommit a lot of resources.
But it's
So that,
same.
I mean, it just sucks for me.
Yeah.
It's same for your opponents too.
Fair point. But it feels like it adds a layer of randomness, yeah. Because like, and as I mentioned at the start of the stream, I want to remove randomness, right? Maybe that's because also I'm a huge enemy of this. I'm calling it seagull fighting for a fish node wars, right?
Yeah.
You do have, and the main problem with the seagulls is that the seagulls have mini bases. And the problem with these mini bases is they can only exist because cannons are garbage. Cannons are absolutely useless. If you can have a utility that can destroy enemy mini bases, you can kind of zone them out easier to deny them a possible last hit. There's still the last hit, because I mean, people had Bandit Party of 5 just running around when the content was released freshly, and they were doing anything but having these random bandit parties that were running all across the area and just trying to last hit this shit. Completely idiotic, yeah. So I'm really in favor of this point system that Quendea mentioned, and I think, I mean, right now we have no guilds left, yeah. They can just toss everyone into the same area. I mean, like I haven't seen 9 guilds in a long time, bro.
Yeah,
It's
that's
true.
With 13 guilds per Serendia and Balenos when it was released, right? And now I see 2v2s at most. Like, it's like cut in 3 or cut in 4 the amount of node war guilds.
Yeah, it's sad, but it's true.
I think there's a pretty simple fix to the RNG part of those node wars, which is like in PvE, if let's say two people are trying to grief each other, they hit the same mob. The one that deals the most damage to the mob and has the most contribution into killing that mob gets the reward. Why in PvP do we have the last hit?
Yeah.
Why? Like, PA already had a code in place to like attribute the kill to whoever dealt the most damage. Why did they have to make it last hit based specifically for PvP? Like, who did they think would like that?
I never thought of that. That reminded me, do you guys know the boss from the Abandoned Monastery?
Yes.
Jordan? The ones that would contribute with the most damage would actually get the guaranteed down earring. So yeah, they have it in the system. It shouldn't be that hard on paper, right?
It also
Actually, never
encourages
thought of that.
people to attack to the castle, the point system. Whenever you just invest more sources to attack to the castle, and also to hold the castle. Whenever you hold castle, you get additional points. Whenever you lose it, you will lose a little bit, maybe some percentage of your points. And also, whenever you die, whenever you kill, it will push people to fight to the castle with their own resources, not only for cannon, not only for Huacha, not only for flame tower or whatever you do. Also, that Huachas, please.
Oh, yeah.
I hate like Hwacha's just raining on me. 4-5 guilds Hwacha, impossible to stand. How am I gonna be able to just hit to that fort? How is that? I don't know. It's
You know,
it-
Watcha being used offensively is just, it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all.
just make it like shorter range, like defensive purpose. Make it stronger, but defensive purpose like Flame Tower. At least in Node. In Siege, I don't fucking care. Like it can throw from Valencia to Arahaza. I don't care, but it is because it is Siege. It is Castle, but you're just building it. It can be defensive, but from 300 meters away, Hwacha is attacking to the castle. 5 different guilds. Hwacha is arrows are just raining. Impossible to fight in the middle of or around the castle. That's why I'm saying that bring chaotic situations, bring point system, and remove the Hwacha attacking that much long distance. If anyone wants to try to just build nearby the castle, and yeah, I don't know, like don't let them build at some certain area. Like only the owner of the castle can build if they can build, if the others allow. Because if you build around the castle, it's giga defense. Like it's makes you very strong. Yeah, I don't know. Like this is the only solution that I just think a lot on this system. We are doing this we did this occupation system a lot. That's the only proper and simple solution. People can add different things, different utilities, but coding these things are very hard. But coding these things are very easy. It's just simple things. They can code it. They can just replace some numbers, distance of the Hwacha. Names will not be shown. Every enemy's names will be anonymous enemy. Everyone will appear to you with the, for example, trend camouflage, and you will be only see their weapons or fully trend camouflage. I don't know. So it will be good. And also put until the 7 or 9 guilds in the same territory. Do not separate them. They will decrease, if they listen us, they will decrease the number of the participants from 1 guild to 40. And even if like 150 people around in one castle, it's still playable for 5 guilds. If every guild is 100, of course it will be unplayable. But even in that circumstance, it will be playable. Also make the minimum limit of the, what was the name? The minimum limit of the fight is 40 minutes instead of 20. Please, I beg you. And also it's up to 1 hour and 30 minutes. From 40, 130. That would be nice.
I agree to that. I think that the mode actually also needed more time and more options for, like, let's say there's 3 guilds and the fight is gonna end in 25 minutes. Why don't you just make that once that castle ends, another pops and you have another fight for the remaining 2?
Yeah,
in another
nice.
25 minutes. Why not? It could be another possibility.
Like when a castle handover, like from one guild to the another one, additional 3 minutes, for example, war will be extended up to 1 hour and 30 minutes. But it will not end it until 40 minutes. 40 minutes will be the minimum. And then whenever it just hand over from the castle, from one guild to the another, one guild to the another, each handover will just add 3 minutes up to 1 hour 30 minutes. So people will want to just extend the battle, and they will force to each other to just not get it, or they will force themselves to get the castle non-stop. Imagine the chaos. Chaos is the key for the PvP in this game. That's why before that open world PvP, you guys just, having lots of fun, because chaos and random and organic things. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm a PvP player at all, Kappa.
You're the tier list man. No, it's just sad. Like, honestly, from my perspective on all the PvP that we've talked, and if you guys think I think the podcast so far has been long enough, we can cut it here for the rest of the PvP content. But it's been very sad, and my side of the story, being on a guild that you would consider your family, which was a fantasy for me, it was very emotional. Like, I'm not gonna cry, right? But it was very emotional to see that guild being on top of all the Node War and PvP scenarios. Like, all the names were from players that were there, the most guild with the most participations, with the most kill structure sold up. They were all like players from my family, and just seeing all those friends and all that people gone, it's just very sad. Like, I miss all my friends. I still have contact with most of them, and it's just I don't know, it breaks my heart to, like, actual brothers that I met there, they're just gone. They don't want to come back to the game. It's just impossible. They don't feel that hunger. It's just very sad, and I'm glad that I got to join this new family, which is Red, right? And Specs are running, and some other people, right? But I don't know, man. Like all the players that we've lost, all the great minds and all the good people, all this community with how passionate we are, how sad it's to see the situation being as it is. That's all what I can say from my perspective.
Before, like, let me just say, if you guys okay, this team and maybe more, I'm just, calling more people, veterans, for this podcast. Next week, we talked about the Node Siege and overall maybe World a little bit, large scale mostly. Next week, we can talk about the small scale AOS, RBF, Guild League, maybe open world, hardcore server shit. I'm sorry, but it is. And the what would you see as a PV and PvP things like?
I mean, unless they decide to revive completely the PvP scene on the next Global Labs, yeah, sure.
Where do you just,
surely.
They're just gonna make
Opium
it. They're
Grove,
just
full
gonna
on
fully
Opium.
revive it. Let's go.
This is the one,
We
right?
never
This is the one.
doubted
This is the
PA.
one, right?
Let's
If not
go.
this, it's
This
the
is the
next
chance. They're gonna make it right this
Yes,
time, right,
yes.
guys? Right.
Yeah, they're taking a 1 week break from patches so they can cook the best
Right,
patch in
right.
the
Oh
past year,
god.
right?
No,
They have
it wasn't
listened to
because of
us.
that.
They have started programming all the stuff that we've
No,
just
it was
mentioned
because
here,
of the
and they're
Labor
just gonna-
Day, guys. Don't just make just not big hopes, okay? It's
Yeah.
reduce your expectations so you can be happy. Ignorance is bliss, okay? No less, and the game is better. We know lots of things about this game. We are the most unhappy one in the game. Always remember that. Yeah. So are you guys ready for the next week? Who is ready? Who can just attend?
I'll be here,
I can always attend.
Oh,
Yeah,
same.
I want to get
Most
my
Sure.
Yeah,
Against
I
Guild as
feel
well.
like Tassader was really up there to give the Guild League round, but
yeah, next week for sure.
we will get it done.
Agree,
We will
agree.
get it done.
Can't wait to talk about those double shy, double Zerk, double Gauntlet comps. It's gonna be so fun.
So much
Yes,
Oh.
it's gonna be such a fun.
Don't
talk.
take
So
away
we
from
should
my
also maybe
random-
call
Whatever.
Mag. What do you think? Maybe we should call Mag.
I mean,
he can just
If
laugh at
he
us.
if he accepts to come, because
Because-
the offer once was offered and it got rejected, so I'll try to
Maybe
do a
he'll
second
just,
chance.
while we just complaining and lots of these carpeting in the Guild League, maybe to laugh at us only. Sometimes he open his
hold up.
microphone and he say and just
I have the perfect plan, Quen.
Yeah.
What if we say that we don't want another Berserker Striker to get nerfed, like on compensation? We remove all that part and we just say, if you come, we stop yapping and saying bad things of Striker, and we don't want you guys to be nerfed or anything. You're fine. You just come and talk, right?
maybe.
It could be a thing. Nah, but let's do final thoughts, guys. I sort of did my whining in sad moment. What do you guys want to end up with? Let's go from Palpaw.
What I want to end up with? What do you mean? Like the game state?
Yeah,
The-
final
the-
thoughts, PvP, what we've
Final
talked, final thoughts, closure.
Final thought. I mean, nerf classes. Nerf a lot of classes. Distribute the tools the classes have, right? More classes are going to be viable, even in Uncapped. Remove fucking vacuums. Remove whatnot from the game. Like, there's so much power creep going on. Like, and that's the issue. Like, every modern class that gets released just can simply do everything and just outscales older classes.
Yeah.
I don't know if reworking the older classes is the play. I genuinely feel like we need to remove mechanics and tools from classes that have too many.
Okay.
And make sure that only one class has access to a vacuum, one class has access to one class has access to, you get what I'm saying, heals, shit like that.
Okay. Maces?
Yeah, I just definitely want to agree with what Paul just said. There's too many classes that are like jack of all trades, and then too many classes that only do one thing, and this is kind of bad. A lot of people leave because they just can't play the class they want to play. They either get left out of content or they feel forced into a single type of content. So I think that's also bad. We either want all classes to be jack of all trades, or we want all classes to do one thing very well. I can't have it both ways. That's the main thing.
Okay. Okay. Specs? I don't know if you muted. Okay. Specs?
Well, final thoughts, of course, next to the things that were already said in the podcast in quite long detail, and hope that they get implemented, these changes. I just want to, because I think I've realized in the latest few weeks, months, there's a bit of a PvP player pandemic going on, so to say, right? Like a pandemic sounds like a scary word, but
Yeah.
there's just not enough people. Right. Usually it would be like, okay, so many people quit because the game has always had its problems, right? And people would quit because of that or other reasons. But then there's always like something like a new generation coming after. And right now, I don't feel like there's any new generation coming. Honestly, all the new guilds are just revivals or recycled guilds of players that, were a thing back in the day. And the only way that new guilds get revived is if they're built around people who are just coming back to the game again and they're picking it back up because they got invited by their friends. And it's like becoming some sort of Minecraft 2-week phase, like, oh, come hop on back on BDO, man. Let's open up a guild, bro, revive this shit. But that's a bit of a problem. There's no new players, there's no new influx, there's not much of that. And especially regarding PvP. So I want to just maybe leave some words of encouragement, especially to smaller guilds that are looking to somehow PvP and are maybe too scared to approach the entire thing, be it because of Diplo, be it because of being scared of strength and so on. I just want to encourage them to just do your own thing, try it out, seek for help from the people who are already established, right? Ask for some sort of guides and whatnot, because this game has a lot of knowledge that you can't probably find on YouTube or Twitch or whatnot. You have to ask people, right? But you know who these people are who are leading these big guilds. Don't be afraid to reach out to them, ask for help, how to get into things, and pick up the game, especially the PvP aspect of the game, because I feel like if anything, it has been gate capped maybe a little bit. Every time people find some sort of new PvP secret, it's super duper gate capped so they can get some sort of advantage over others until these others run into it 10 times over and, get the idea. Just try to look past the gatekeeping, try to pick up the game, man. Try to pick up PvP in this game. And it's actually quite good if you ignore all these issues, and capped is still a bit of a safe space for people to start out in. I want to encourage that, because it's a bit depressing to see the lack of participation on some, like, we have so many nodes and there's at best maybe one guild placing on one node, and there's 4 having a 2v2, and then that's it. The rest is going maybe the occupation tier 1 node, and that's only a fight in between 3 people per day or 5. This cannot be, and the game is not designed around that either. So yeah, I just want to strongly encourage picking up PvP and reaching out. That's it.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate that, like, just dissolving alliances or lowering the caps in general would just breathe a lot of fresh air into the node war scene, into the entire large scale scene. So I would just love to see that. And then beyond that, I think you have to introduce like better rewards and make it the rewards more competitive with PvE to actually get more people playing it, and introduce more people that are perhaps scared of it or perhaps scared of wasting time to actually try out the PvP. So yeah, those 2 things I think I would like to see like very soon. It's simple changes that could take a week and just implement it.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
For me personally, man, I'm pretty down bad. So if they would take any feedback from
I
today,
know,
for example,
I
it
know.
would already help a lot, right? If they would like have some shimmer of hope, like a little bit, then it would be already good for me personally. And the other thing is class balance. I mean, I feel like in any MMO you will always have non-balanced classes, right? But it's like a luxury. If the game mode and the PvP is fun, then you can go for the class balance. But at the moment, as I said, what Tass just said with the alliance systems, that's a big one for me personally. I feel like if you nuke alliances, you will have so many guilds again to actually PvP, not the same 3 alliances every day, which makes me lose it personally. But yeah, it would give like fresh air, and I think it would also get new people to join. It's easier to join a small guild, in my opinion, than a bigger guild, because again, people are monopolizing, right? Everyone who PvPs already is in a guild, and they will just like get a change back and forth, right, between guilds. Like the same names. I'm seeing the same names that I'm seeing for like the past 5 years. Not gonna lie, it's always the same people. So yeah, it would probably help if the guilds are like actually smaller, right? And you have actually new people joining these guilds because they're like smaller and they can actually fight people. They don't have to fight 100-man guild every time, right? Like it does help. Yeah, that's for me.
Okay. RK?
I think I have to mostly agree with what Spec said. I don't think there's any point in concluding with reiterating on like issues that we want PA to fix. The main overall issue is that the main overall resulting issue is that the P scene is not in a good state. And while we can't expect PA to solve that issue right away in a short amount of time, we can at least do an effort ourselves to keep the scene alive and have players get into it. And I know there's not a great incentive for the general BDO player base to get into PvP right now, but if we want to see PvP staying alive and PA maybe like having PA put more attention into it, seeing that we care and that we want to see it improved. I think it's a good start if we put more attention into it ourselves, because a lot of players really don't want to get into it.
You take it all the way from here, Gwen.
Okay, like it was the most, I don't know how to like detailed podcast until now, I think. Even without,
definitely.
patch notes or something. Probably next week we will do a little bit review on the patch notes, because Global Labs will be on Friday. We didn't have Global Labs this week, and there will be no official patch. Probably they will just make some, classic restart on the servers, but no patch. Maybe not even restart, I didn't check it. But next week's podcast will be related to the small scale PvP with these, valuable people. They just came here, share their thoughts. I just want to say thank you to them. Thank you guys. And
especially for those of you that I actually know, because we talk individually, for the effort that you guys do to actually come here, like actually postponing or changing work schedules, like this is a true effort from everyone to like make this sort of project work and to be heard. And it's, again, I kind of boring person in this aspect, but I am very, very thankful for all of you guys that come here and take the time and the effort.
Yeah, like every week, I don't know if you guys see it or not, in the forums in EU and MENA, and we're preparing some kind of summary, every week's summary, what we talked, what are the problems that we talked, what can be the solutions, what are the reasons of the problems, and we are just sending as a feedback. I talked with the CM Zarka, and I requested him, hey, we're just creating feedbacks, these are the summary, what we like, what we dislike, blah 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 blah. And he said that no problem, I will just send them as feedback every week. But I'm 100% sure that they will send it, but I'm not sure that if PA actually starts to listen what we say in this podcast, instead of being toxic or creating toxicity in the podcast, we're trying to be constructive, and I believe it will work. We will see it. Maybe in a few weeks we will start to work that PA will start to fix few things according to this podcast, and then people will start to realize that, hey, they talked about this thing, and other veteran players will start to join in this team. Who knows? And that would maybe make a great work at the end of few months. And maybe the Discord will be huge feedback Discord. People just give problems, and we will talk about them in the podcast with the reasons and with the solutions. And in few weeks, PA will fix it. Who knows? It's just big hope. I know, Giga copium thing. I know, but it is what it is. I think I have to thanks again to the people, and as a special thank to the Hygaa. He's managing all the things.
Yeah.
You know what we say?
More than
do not forget. Video is just a game, and have a nice game.